Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Rolling Forward podcast. I am here with Mathias. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing pretty well.
All right, awesome. Okay, so let's do this intro real quick, and then we'll get into a whole bunch of things. Super excited to have you on. Okay, so this is the Rolling Forward podcast, a podcast of people who keep rolling forward no matter what life throws at them. Real people, real stories, powered by purpose, resilience, and a drive that never ends. I'm Zach Sikora. Spina bifida didn't stop me. It just gave me a better excuse to sit down while I take over the world. Today's funny shirt it's a math one. I don't think I've ever wore a non-disabled funny shirt on the show, but this says 2n minus 1. I literally can't even. I hope you all understand the joke, because if you put a number in that's a whole number to the n, you'll always get an odd number because, yeah. Anyway, funny, haha, math humor. This is one of my first shirts that I've got that is like dad joke vibes. So anyway, I did not make the shirt. I bought it on Amazon, but if you like shirts like this, you can grab one of my shirts over at rollingforward.printful.me. And if you've got a funny shirt idea, please throw it in the comments, and it might make it into my shop. Now, let's roll into today's episode. So we are going to talk to Mathias. Okay, so Mathias, a little bit of background. I'm super excited to have you on. You have some really cool stories that I wanted to share. For those that don't know, Mathias is a double amputee. And we'll get into that story in a little bit later. But we met through wheelchair basketball, and then through tennis. I coached him in tennis for a while. So, what else is there to know about you? Can you give us like a 10,000-foot overview of who you are and what you're about?
So obviously I've done sports my whole life. But after everything over sports, I went into my career, which is CNC machining
Okay.
and manufacturing and design.
Okay.
And so I went to school for that in trade school for my junior and senior year.
What's CNC stand for?
Computer numeric control.
Okay.
And so it's basically precision.
Still don't know
machining.
what that is.
Yeah.
I do, but based on what you've told me, but yeah.
It's precision machining.
Okay.
And so aerospace type stuff.
Okay.
Where we build you can build aircrafts, you can build engines with very precise measurements.
Okay. Cool.
So I've been doing that since I got out of high school. And yeah, that's what I've been doing for most of my time.
I like it. Okay, so can you talk a little bit about how we met? Do you even like I don't know that I fully remember like the day we met per se, right? Like
I think it was I think I actually have a photo. You were in
Really?
the background. It was me and Jamie, my best friend.
Yeah.
And I was looking at him so like smirky grin, and he just looked over at me like I was the stupidest person alive. Keep in mind, we're like 6 and 7 years old.
Did I photobomb you?
You were just, it was the Royals and the Varsity Dragons playing a scrimmage match, and you were just in the back.
Okay.
And so when I was looking back at photos, I was like, that's Zach. I was like, I kind of remember him there. I don't think we talked.
I don't think I was associated with the Royals at all until like it was probably like 8 or 9 years ago.
Yeah.
So I mean, you said 6 or 7. So
well, that's how old we were.
I know, but you're 20, right?
I might be exaggerating.
Okay.
I might be able to find a photo later.
No. We don't need to find that. I'm very curious. I do want to see it because it's like, okay. So, all right. And so a couple cool things is you played junior wheelchair basketball. You were there when they won nationals, right?
Yep.
which is one of it's a huge accomplishment. It's pretty awesome. You were one of the starters, along with your friend Jamie, right?
Yeah.
And so yeah, we can get into those stories in a little bit. So we are taking a road trip this weekend,
We are.
which is kind of fun. This is kind of like a tradition that we've had over the years.
How many years has it been now since we've been doing this?
I would say 4 or 5. I mean, what we took Sean up once, we took Jamie up once. We've probably driven together, just you and me,
Who?
1 or 2 times.
We took Olivia that one time. Or was that a different thing?
No, that was a different thing.
Okay.
Didn't we go up to Dayton for like a day thing?
It might have been. It might have been.
Y- I don't remember. Anyway,
Yeah.
um, yeah. And so we're going. Go ahead. I'll let you explain it.
So this is the Lynn Bender Camp up in Michigan. I forget
It's
the
in
area.
Holland.
Holland, Michigan.
Uh-huh.
So it basically just brings in a bunch of kids from the Midwest to go able to play tennis for a day or two.
Yeah.
And then we have coaches that come.
Keep your yeah.
We have
You
coaches
keep
that
flipping
come.
away like this, and
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, keep going.
But
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So here's the inspiration that I have is, we've actually probably have like 4 or 5 kids from Cincinnati come in this weekend, so
okay.
it should be pretty awesome. But growing up, I don't know about you, but growing up, camps were like meant everything to me. And one of the cool things about like camps of like disabled like that have disabled like any disabled sports or disabled athletes is when you're younger, you look up to those kids and they kind of teach you to do things that make you more independent as a younger kid. So
Mhm.
you see those things and you're like, I want to do that. And then that's kind of becomes your motivation to doing them. Not only that, but like people in those spaces kind of hold you accountable a little bit more.
Very much so.
Because I think in an able-bodied world, it's very often for that able-bodied person not to know how to interact with you and what your limitations are, and so then um, they might over coddle you, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So that's one of my favorite things about the camp, and I actually have told this story about you so many different times, and I think you know this story, but you might not. But the I don't want to mention any kids' names on the podcast, but like one of the redhead kids that we coach, the only redhead kid that we coach, came up to me and said, "Hey, Coach Zach, can I go talk to Mathias?" And it was the middle of practice, and I said, "Why do you need to go talk to Mathias?" And she goes, "I want to see if after practice he can help me load my wheelchair in my car." And I like I told her like my heart melted during that moment, but in the same light, I was like, no, 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 we can ask him after practice, and I'm sure he'd love to do that, and blah 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 blah.
She still asked me during practice.
Did she really? Okay, well, maybe I even was like, yeah, go ahead, please ask Matthias that because that's awesome. I'm very, it's definitely the kind of culture that I want to cultivate in our practices. It's
Mhm.
the younger kids looking up to the older kids having a mentorship with the younger kids and stuff like that. So,
Right.
you remember that, right?
Yes.
Do you so and then after practice, what happened?
Her parents weren't all into that idea. They're like, "Oh, but she's gonna fall." I was like,
Yeah.
"Be there to catch her, but she's wanting to do this, so let her do this."
Yeah.
And so it took her a minute, and we were just me and Zach were there encouraging her, like, "Keep going, you're almost there." And she's over here struggling, and finally she got up, and the smile on her face was just enormous. She's like, "I did it."
Yeah, yes. Yeah, and it's moments like that that I do what I do as far as like coaching goes and stuff like that. So, it's also pretty cool, a single amp that we play that has a backwards foot that you played basketball with. We're not gonna mention his name, but, we also have another kid who's a little bit younger than him that has that, I forget what it's called, something plasty where they reverse the foot and the heel becomes the knee.
Yeah.
And so now this kid is kind of looking up to him as well. And dude, it's just it's so cool to see that. And he's a new injury, this younger kid. So
Okay.
it's awesome to see all that. So anyway, what you mentioned a funny moment. We were talking earlier before the podcast, and I said that we're gonna tease a funny moment or moment you hope will happen at the camp. So you have one. We actually have a couple. So go ahead. You explain the one that you brought up that you thought of.
So a couple years ago, me and Zach and my buddy Jamie, we all went to Michigan for the trip, and Jamie was in the front seat, fell asleep, and me and Zach were both awake, obviously, because Zach was
Yeah.
driving. But I see a semi pulling another semi that's hitched onto the back, and so the hitched semi looks like it's at us. And I was like, Zach, get real close behind it and just, I'll start slapping Jamie and we're just going to start screaming. And he just woke up with me slapping his chest and he just sees this. And me and Zach were just screaming our heads off and he just goes crazy.
Yeah, I saw that on like Instagram or something like that at one point, and oh man, it was everything because he just wakes up and there's a truck pointed right at him, and we're freaking out, so he doesn't know what to do. Oh man. Yeah, so the other cool thing is at these camps and it's there for players to have fun, but you were decently high ranked in the junior division, and it was pretty cool to see that you were consistently the best person at this camp. And then it was also cool that all these younger kids kind of look to you for just to be a role model, and that was cool. So do you want to share a little bit about that too?
Every time I go to this camp, I start recognizing a lot more kids.
Mhm.
And typically, how I recognize people at camps or tournaments is their chair, but
Mhm.
some of these kids are getting new chairs because they're growing,
Yeah.
and so for me able to recognize them just by their actual face, it's actually pretty nice,
Mhm.
and they obviously, like, they recognize me from my chair and my, uh, just structure.
Yeah.
uh, they just come up, they're like, "We missed you. Are you gonna be playing at any tournaments?" "We are."
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
their parents come up, and they're like, they were excited to come see you.
Yeah.
Hoping they were gonna see you. I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
"Yeah. Well, you have me on Facebook, so anytime they wanna just talk to me, they can just you ring me up," and
Yeah.
that's what I do for one kid. He's a double amputee,
Oh,
and he
okay.
lives in Ohio,
Yeah.
and I still am in close contact with his mom, and she's updating me on, like, what he's doing. He got new prosthetics.
Oh.
I am hoping he's gonna be at the camp. Stuff happened with my Facebook where it's deactivated right now,
Uh,
and so I can't ask her at the moment, but
okay.
I'm hoping
Okay.
he'll be at that camp.
Well, if you wanna use mine, let me know. But cool, okay. So, any other highlights at the camp that you wanna share?
At the during, like, lunch breaks, I think it's at the
Yeah.
last day,
Yeah.
uh, Lynn asked a couple people to tell a story or share their experience in the real life events
Yeah.
or stuff like that, and for the past couple years, I was one of those people along with, one other guy or another athlete there,
Yep.
and you get to be able to explain to the kids and the parents because they're there too, and
Mhm.
we can have like an actual conversation. And what I think is that's good for the parents because the parents can ask their questions in front of their kid, and their
Mhm.
kid can kind of listen to what I'm saying to
Yep.
that question.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, it's it's one of those things where what happens in the wheelchair sports world isn't fully known, and there's not a lot out there to be able to like research it, let's say. And so it's really awesome to have like someone like you to get up there in front of everyone. And there's like you took the competitive path, but there's also like some kids just want to do it to have fun. Some kids want to do it because they like the community aspect. So there's a whole bunch of different reasons to do it. I'm sure you did it for those reasons as well,
Mm.
but you also saw a path that was competitive. So, um, real quick, just because it's a good question, I'm sure people are gonna know or want to know what's the highest rank you got in the 18 and under division in wheelchair tennis.
In singles, my last year, I think I reached number 3 in the country,
Okay.
and then doubles, I was number 1.
Number one. Okay, okay. That's pretty awesome. I don't think I realized you got up to number one. That's awesome.
Yep.
Okay, so as far as basketball goes, basketball, you guys won you guys won the junior nationals as well. So obviously you're a pretty good athlete all around. Talk to me about like actually let's go way back. So you have a birth defect. I have a birth defect. You don't have spina bifida though, like I do. What do you have?
I have the condition's called bilateral amputee, which just means I'm missing both my legs, but it's above the knee. My right side, I have half a femur, and my left side, my amputation's all the way up to the hip.
Mm,
So
okay. Can you say that one more time? Your right side is what?
half a femur,
Half of a femur.
and so
Okay.
if you take your leg from your hip to your knee, I'm
It's
right
half
in the
of that.
half of it.
Yep.
Yep,
And then your other leg is what again?
all the way to my hip.
All the way to your hip. Okay, so you don't have like a leg there at all.
Correct.
So you can't do you have muscle there that you can like kind of like move around?
Correct. Yep.
Interesting.
I have
Okay.
a spot where it should have been a toe,
Yeah.
which I can actually still move,
Oh,
but it has no feeling, no nerves or anything,
okay.
and so I can only push it in and out, and that's
Interesting.
my way of wiggling a toe.
Oh, interesting. I've never been able to wiggle a toe, so it's kind of crazy. Someone that has no legs and I have legs, that you can wiggle your toe
I
and
know when anyone asks me that,
oh, oh no. Go ahead.
when anyone asks me, they're like, "Want to play footsie?" I was like, "I can only do a toe," and they're like, "What?"
Because they try to joke around about it, and you kind of like throw them off with that.
Oh yeah, it's
That's
fun.
that's funny. Okay, cool. So, there's a really awesome picture on Facebook that so you're in one of those Gatorade coolers, and because you don't have any legs, you're in this cooler and you're just sitting in it, and you're drenched because you know you're in a Gatorade cooler. And I don't know where the lid is, but I think it's like somewhere else in the picture or something like that. And oh man, it looks hysterical.
Dude, it was so hot that day. It was the middle of June in Houston.
Yeah.
We're in a ITF tournament slash camp, and oof, it was a hot day, and that was the final matches. And when I finished, I just told one of the staff, I was like, "Bring one of those buckets over here." And they're like, "Where do you want it?" I was like, "Just set
Just
it down," and I slowly opened the top, and I lowered myself in, and everyone's just dying. And then the other double amputee from Canada, he's like, "I want to do that." I was like, "You're not fitting, and I'm not getting out."
that's great. Um, okay, so you were born with no legs. Where were you born?
I was born in Serbia, on the border of Serbia and Romania, in a very small town.
Okay.
Um, yep.
Border of Serbia and Romania. And then so you're obviously here in the United States now. When did you come over?
I came over when I was 2. I was born in 2005, so that'd be around 2007. Um,
You're such a baby.
I know, but
Keep going. Sorry. Being old over here. Sorry. Go.
but I was adopted to from a family here local.
Can I ask before you move on to that, do you remember anything being in Serbia?
I don't memory wise, no. Muscle memory, yes. And so the muscle memory is actual handstands. In the orphanage, the doctors taught me how to do a handstand.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And
Okay.
so when I came over here and I was doing handstands, my mom was like, "What is he doing?" And she got in contact with the doctor, just like, "Oh yeah, you like that trick?"
Okay, interesting. Kind of odd that they just teach you how to do a handstand, but I guess, like, you
Well,
kinda need your hands to help you walk and stuff like
right.
that, so
And so you can call it what you want, but it's kind of like physical therapy. They were
Mm,
when a kid is born, nor typically they have legs. They learn how to walk. Me, I had arms, and
mm,
so me being able to just already scoot around, they're like he could actually build muscle a lot faster, and that's what
yeah,
happened. And
yeah.
so over time, in those 2 years, I was able to do a headstand, and then
Oh.
slowly get to a handstand.
Oh,
So
okay. So you remember that you got the handstand from there, kind of probably because your parents told you, but you don't really remember have any memories from Serbia. Okay.
correct.
Okay, and so you came over to the US, um, you were adopted by a family, and how'd that go?
You know, it wasn't bad. It
Yeah?
wasn't bad. Stuff happened where my, adoptive parents split.
Uh-huh.
I won't go too much into that,
Yeah, we can do that later.
um, but then we moved on to the west side of Cincinnati, Bridgetown area,
Yeah,
and that's where my mom kind of found a accessible school
y
district because we were in Norwood,
yeah,
and they are not very accessible. If you live over here, I know a family that goes to Norwood School District, and they admit they're like it is not wheelchair accessible.
yeah,
Our daughter has to go through all these back ways, and
yeah.
there's safety plans that are just not right for her.
Mhm.
Um, and so my mom didn't want anything to do that. So she went to Oak Hills, and
Mm.
Oak Hills was fully accessible, everything had ADA approved everything, and they kept up to code and everything.
Yeah.
So that's where I've been since I moved here.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool. Okay, so when did you get involved with basketball?
I want to say it was 2012.
Okay.
Um,
So you were 7.
yes.
Okay.
Yep. So that first practice, I came in, rolled through the door, and I saw Jacob,
Yeah.
the head coach, former Paralympian and everything like that.
Uh-huh.
And
He's been on the show as well.
yep, he's double amputee.
Mhm.
That was the first time I actually met double amputee where I could talk to them
Oh.
openly. And his amputation is very similar to mine. I've seen
Oh.
other double amps, but it was always above the knee or below the knee, but not like mine.
Yeah.
And Jake's is
Yeah.
almost identical to mine.
Yeah.
And so that we created a very tight bond very, very fast.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so he got me in a chair super quick because he just knew what I needed and knew what I didn't. And then I
Mhm.
was on the court already, put as fast as I could,
Yeah.
slamming on the walls because I couldn't turn.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So, talk about real quick side tangent. Talk about being a double amp that's above knee, and your balance and top heavy and all that.
So being a double amputee with my amputation above the knees, my head is my center of gravity. And
Yeah.
so uh, I don't have much core. I do have some core, but most of it, what I should have, just isn't there because I'm not able to train it because you need at least two thighs to be able to do that.
Right.
Um, so if I go too far on my left, I can just topple over on my right side because
Uh-huh.
I have that little femur. I can control it a little easier. But if I still topple too far,
Uh-huh.
um, but I've been in a wheelchair very long, and so I know how to balance myself. And for kids in wheelchairs, I teach them the same thing because
Mm,
most of the time their head is the center of balance. But a lot of physical therapists don't teach that.
yeah.
And so they're like, just use your core. And I'm like,
Mhm.
use your head
Yeah.
in both ways
Yeah.
and use your arms. Your
Right.
arms are going to be your best friend in a wheelchair
Right.
just to be able to push yourself, but more or less to be able to stabilize yourself. And
Yeah.
that's big for quads too.
Yeah. Yeah, sure. Yeah, that's interesting. You have when you say you don't have core, that makes complete sense. But you definitely move around like you have a lot of core. So,
And that's
uh,
just me knowing my center of balance
yeah,
very, very well.
right. Yeah. So the other thing that comes with that is if you hit somebody like wheelchair basketball is a pretty heavy contact sport. Sometimes wheelchair tennis is too, isn't it, Matthias?
Yeah.
Uh, no, but with it's very easy because you're so light to like hit either somebody hits you or you hit somebody and you just dump out of your wheelchair and you've gotten very good at being able to like because you're strapped in and all that like you're very good about like getting back up while being strapped in, right?
Mhm.
How many times a game, like a basketball game, how many times a day how many times a game would you say you fall out of your wheelchair?
Fall out of or
It,
just fall in the wheelchair?
fall, yeah, fall in or
Uh,
fall over.
Fall over probably 20 times at least a game.
Oh my gosh.
And most of the times the ref are watching it so they can call like ref time.
Yeah.
But as soon as I tip over, I put my hands out and just do a little pop with my wrists and I'm already back up. So they called a
Mhm.
timeout and I'm just rolling around. I'm like, why?
Yeah.
Like, you guys know me for years now. This is
Yeah.
what I do. And they're like, we have to do it.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, when I played wheelchair basketball, I fell like 1 to 3 times a game. I don't think I ever fell 20. But I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but if someone hits you that you and you know it's a foul, you might go a little bit the extra mile and fake it a little bit more, and like to make it more severe so that you will get a foul called.
Exactly.
Yeah. I
Exactly.
mean that's a typical like basketball player thing,
It's
and
called a flop.
it's called a flop. Yeah. Um, anything else with basketball? Do you have any funny memories from basketball that you can share? Anything like that?
So this is gonna bring up Jamie again.
Okay.
It was dead of winter, around January or something. We were in Chicago for a tournament,
Mm-hmm.
and the Chicago tournament, the entrance is sidewalk, obviously, but right next to it is just a hill, just straight, almost 90-degree hill that just goes down, and it was covered in snow. And
Mm-hmm.
me and Jamie we rolled in pretty late, but we were gonna make it on time. And so everyone's already on court warming up. We have about 10 minutes left. We can get warmed up. And Jamie makes some stupid joke that makes me just push him over the hill
Oh no.
in his wheelchair. And he goes tumbling down. And I hold on to his chair and I take his chair, but he's got a wheel with him.
Oh.
And so, right as we're all circled up, about to play, he comes in just hobbling with a wheel, soaked in his jersey. And Jake, he was like, "What happened to you? Where were you?" And I was like, "He probably fell in the toilet. Can't you tell?" And Jamie was just giving me the death stare the whole game. Didn't talk to me once.
Oh no. Did Jamie say something that that you did it or
I don't think so. I think he just took the hit.
yeah.
And so, yeah,
Jamie's not the most talkative person, so I can see him going both ways on that. So
yeah.
interesting.
He threw his all jokes, but
Yeah. Any? Do you have another funny story from basketball, or
that
we can move on if you don't?
it's always got to do with Jamie.
Yeah. Okay.
We were at Fort Worth, Indiana.
Actually, yeah. Go ahead. I'm gonna remember this.
So we were at a tournament and we were just goofing off, being kids. We didn't have a game in like an hour. And so what we did was we took Jamie's wheels, me and some other teammates of mine. We took his wheels, put him in a storage closet. We didn't know it locked
Oh,
because it
no.
was just open. We were like, just stuck him in
Oh,
there, put his
no.
wheelchair in the elevator, and so we sent it up. And he's just looking for his basketball chair, and he's like, "Where'd it go?" And we're like, "Oh." And then we just ran off. And so he, his mom, and dad and sister are all looking for it, and they're like, "Guys, we know where you did something." I was like, "No storage closet." And they're like, "The ones that locked?" And I'm like,
Oh, no.
"Oh," because they found the wheelchair in the elevator because someone's just pulling a wheelchair out of the elevator and so we had to go get staff to open the storage closet with the wheels. It it was a good laugh.
That's a good prank. So my buddies and I okay, so I had Matt on, Matt and Ryan on, but one funny story, and we didn't get into this. Maybe this will be a good one to get into next time I have him on the show. But so um, Matt's a very introverted person, and he's one of those people also that wants to figure it out himself. And so we were in the hotel room, and he's tightening the spokes on his wheelchair, and I was like, how many rotations are you doing on those spokes? He goes, until they're tight. And I'm like, Matt, you need to count the amount of turns that you're doing as you tighten your spokes so that you can get an even distribution around all your wheels. He kind of got mad at me. And I was like, Matt, your wheels are gonna break. Your spokes are gonna break. I'm telling you that because I don't want that to happen. And he's basically like dismisses me. He's like, get out of here. I can do it. I know how to do this. Blah 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 blah. Well, we get on the basketball court, and sure enough, like probably I don't know 5-10 minutes in, you hear pop 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 pop. Like probably 75% of his spokes just popped, and they all broke. And what Spinergy spokes are probably what $30 now per spoke, or maybe $20, something like
They're
that,
about $20 for a pack now.
for a pack.
Yeah.
Oh, I I thought they were per spoke, that they were more, but
I could check Sport Aid. That's where I get my
yeah,
stuff.
okay. I don't think it really matters, but anyway, Spinergy spokes are pretty expensive.
Yeah.
More expensive than aluminum spokes, and yeah, so like we did not make eye contact. Like he did not make eye contact with me because he's just like. And it's funny because like every now and then I'm like, "Hey Matt, you remember that one time that blah 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 blah." Okay, one other kind of funny story is when we were with Jamie on our way back from the Michigan camp. Do you remember what happened?
You're gonna have to explain.
So I pull out, I drop you off, and I still have I'm still with Jamie, but I drop you off at your house, and I pull away, and yeah, you remember now?
Yeah.
Go ahead, keep going.
Is this the
You
where
take over.
your tire goes flat?
Yeah, this is where my tire goes flat. And you can refresh my memory on this, but so my tire goes flat, and I get a picture of. Oh, so your buddy came over to help out
Yeah.
because he knows, like we know how to change a tire, but like something weird was happening with it. I don't remember exactly, but your buddy came over to help out as well. And a picture that I got that was just absolutely priceless is you're on the ground, Jamie's in his wheelchair, and he is holding the car tire so that we can go get the other one, and you're pushing him, the back of his wheel, his wheelchair, you're pushing him, and again, it's basically like you're sitting down because you don't have legs, so you're pushing him as Jamie's holding this wheel, and it was just absolutely hysterical. I was doing something before anybody like yells at me. I don't know if I was helping change the tire or if I was getting the spare out or whatever, but I was doing something. And I don't know where this able-bodied kid was at the time either, but it just seemed like the most efficient way, the most efficient thing to do. And yeah, I'll post it if anybody says something in the chat that they want to see it. So, um, anyway, um, so any okay, so let's do tennis now. So when did you get involved in tennis, and all that?
I want to say it was oof, 20 2021, I believe
Mhm.
so. Uh, Emmy Kaiser, she came up to me during a basketball tournament. She's like, "Would you like to try out tennis?" And I was like, "Another sport? I mean, I'm never gonna turn down the sport to try." And I tried it, couldn't hit any of the balls in on the other side of the court. And I was like, you know what? It's just fun to hit balls,
Yeah.
just slap the crap out of them.
Yeah.
And but slowly I started getting into it, and she started teaching me technique.
Mhm.
And that's when I realized I was like, oh, I'm actually kind of good at this.
Yeah.
And so I got my own tennis wheelchair through a grant with the Cincinnati Tennis Foundation,
Yep.
and I played my first tournament.
Nice.
Didn't win any matches
Where?
at the Cincinnati Wheelchair Open.
Yep, yep.
I
Here
played
in
that
Cincy.
tournament, didn't win anything.
Yeah.
But Emmy was like, "What did you learn?" I was like,
Yeah.
"Well, I learned that I need to do this, this, and
Yeah.
this." She's like, "What did you do well?" I was like, "Chair position, placement,
Yeah.
where my chair was." She's like, "You have the chair skills down.
Yeah.
What you need to do is figure out how to get your racket on that ball to get over."
Yeah.
Um, and that's how I first started going into tennis. And
Yeah.
then I became a dual athlete.
Yep.
I was playing wheelchair basketball
Mhm.
and wheelchair tennis.
Yep.
And I was in school,
Yep.
getting good grades, all that good stuff.
Nice.
um, yeah, and then my junior year came up. I was in trade school. I was doing basketball. I was doing tennis, and that's when I really decided. I was like, I really love tennis. This is
Mhm.
what I really want to do. I've
Mhm.
done almost a decade years of wheelchair basketball. I've competed with the best of the best. I played with the best of the best.
Yeah.
They're all going. I think it's time for me to move on.
Mhm.
And a lot of people didn't agree with that, but that's where I was at.
Yeah.
So I went fully into tennis, and that's when I got offers from Team USA to join their high performance team.
Mhm.
That's where it really picked up. So I went to
Mhm.
Orlando for a camp there for all the wheelchair high performance athletes,
Mhm.
juniors. Um, and that's when I've really found that I am one of the best of the best, and
Mhm.
they recognize that. And
Mhm.
so I really picked up my tennis skills and I honed it in, and that's when I started winning tournaments. I started going to tournaments and just really focusing on it. And I wasn't just doing it for myself. I was also showing people. I was like, this is the book I was given
Yeah.
from the national team.
Yep.
This is what you need. This is how to do it. And I can
Mhm.
show you technique. And so when I was off the court,
Mhm.
I was on another court showing kids and
Mhm.
adults. I was like, this is how you're going to get top spin. This is how you do backspin.
Yep.
This is how to do this and this. And my mom, she was like, you need to eat. Your match is in
Mhm.
2 hours. And I was like, but they're
Yeah.
asking questions and I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
Um, so that's when I really decided, like, this is what I wanted to do,
Yeah.
tennis
Yeah.
wise.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, just to back up from you quitting basketball, um, I think a general sentiment was here you guys just won nationals. You're still a pretty good basketball player, and then it's like, oh, is he shooting himself in the foot? And then everyone's like, no, he doesn't have any feet. Nah. Knee slapper. No, but is he shooting himself in the foot with like college and stuff like that? And that's before you had decided that you weren't gonna go to college, right? And then it's like, well, like, I think this is a different time, but, like, you had people like Steve Welsh, who was, like, one of the best wheelchair basketball and best wheelchair tennis players in the world, went to the Paralympics and both and stuff like that, and, I think in today's age, it's almost impossible to do that at this point because the competition is so fierce.
Mhm.
You tell me if you disagree with that. Do you
Well,
think it's
I was talking to dual athletes in college, and
yeah,
I was like, "Is this a good idea to do?" And they're like, "You really have to choose one sport.
yeah,
You can be a dual athlete, but you can't be 100% in both." And
right,
I was like, That's what I wanted."
right,
And so I was getting a college who doesn't allow dual sports, but they wanted me so bad they were gonna let me do it.
right,
And they were like, "But we're gonna need you to be all in for us
yeah,
and kinda in for them." But the other
yeah,
sport was like, "You need to be all in for us. You can be all in for them, but you
mm,
also have to focus on school."
right,
And I was like, "That's gonna be a lot for me."
yeah,
And so I decided one sport,
yep,
and then I decided no schooling. I'm
mhm,
gonna go into a trade,
yep,
and that's what I did. And
yep,
so I got so many certifications. I got my graduate. I got my all kinds of stuff to make it so I could work in the field.
yeah,
And so
yeah, yeah. What made you make the decision to stop, to not do college altogether?
it was more of an academical standpoint. I was good in high school, but from what I know from other colleges or
Mhm,
college athletes, they struggle a lot.
yeah,
And so even if they're good at sports and good at school, they struggle. And
mhm,
I was like, that's not going to be good for me because
yeah,
it takes me forever for school. And so for high school, it was easy just because I focused on what I did know, and then I focused on what I didn't know at a later point,
yeah,
and just so I could be able to understand everything.
mm,
But in college, you don't really have that time.
right,
You have a deadline. That's what you need to do. That's what you got to get.
mhm.
And that was going to be a mental barrier for me.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I I feel that 100%. So you had so when you figured that out, what was your goal?
My goal was to be able to understand what I want to do. And
Uh-huh.
so for the longest time, it was college. It was, I'm
Yeah.
going to play this sport. I'm going to do this school. And in the summer, I'm going to go overseas, play in their league, and then come back
Mhm.
and do it all over again.
Yep.
And when I realized that's not what I want to do, I was like, I need to get my crap together.
Mhm.
Th- I not expecting this. And then my mom told me about trade school.
Yeah.
And I was like, this could be something. This could be a
Mhm.
fallback
Mhm.
because I was considering it my junior year of not going to college.
Yeah.
And that's when the height of just colleges try to recruit. And so I went
Mhm.
into trade school as a fallback.
Mhm.
And I didn't get into the trade I wanted. I want to go into welding or auto mechanic.
Mm.
Those were my first twos. Uh,
Okay.
but I got into CNC manufacturing design, and I realized I loved it
Mm.
because you work with your hands, you work with programs, and you
Yeah.
get to design things. And I was like, I could make my own wheelchair company with
Yeah.
these kinds of skills. And
Oh.
so that's what I actually started working towards.
Cool.
And so I started working with a company in Texas, Formex. I was trying to get insider details. I was like, how do you do this? What do you need to do?
Mm.
I want to work for you guys.
Yeah.
Um, and they were like telling me what I needed to do. But one of those three things was an engineering degree.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Just to be able to make designs. And I was like, well, what
Whoa.
about CNC manufacturing design? That's what we do.
Yeah.
They're like, that could be an option.
Yeah.
And so they looked into it. They're like, you might be able to do this. We'd have to go into way deeper
Uh-huh.
looking, but just from the qualifications you want to get.
Yeah.
And it was a solid option for me.
Yeah.
So,
Cool. So that's potential down the road in the future then.
not at the moment. I'm sticking with my company
Mm,
that makes wheelchair ramps,
yep.
balconies, stairs, canopies, stuff like
Mhm.
that. But we
Mhm.
mainly focus on wheelchair ramps.
Yeah. Cool.
So,
Um, okay, so let's back up for a quick second. So I obviously know the answer to this. Do you play wheelchair basketball and wheelchair tennis now?
not at the moment, no. Nope.
Not at the moment. Why not?
I have a back injury.
Yeah. How long ago did this happen?
I want to say 2 or 3 years ago.
Mhm.
Now, it was multiple pinched nerves between my discs.
Mm.
We didn't know how many it was at first, but we realized it was a lot more than we thought.
Yeah.
And so I got uh, needle point injections to help the pain. That
Mhm.
helped a little bit,
Yeah.
and that's supposed to last 6 months. It only lasted me 2 months
Ugh.
for how much the pain
Yeah.
was.
Yeah.
And so every day I'd go to school. By the end of the day at school, for the last 2 hours, I would just lay down in class and go on the computer and write designs and write code
Mhm.
and get my certifications I needed because I couldn't sit up. It
Right.
was just a lot on my back.
Right.
So I come home and just lay down for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
And it was hard
Yeah.
not being able to do any sports, no physical activity,
Right.
and typically I don't follow the doctor's orders with
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. They're like,
Yeah.
no physical this, no do this.
Yeah.
I just couldn't do it.
I
Be
mean, you kinda followed I mean, you didn't necessarily follow the doctor's orders, you followed the pain that you were having and
exactly.
just led you're like, "Okay, I should listen to the doctor because every time I try to play tennis again, my back starts hurting and it puts me in a horrible, horrible state."
Yep.
So, yeah, okay.
So that put me in a just horrible mental state for those couple years. And
Mhm.
then that's when this past year or two, that's when I really got out of that funk. I was like,
Yeah.
I can do this for short bursts, like the Cincinnati Open. I can play a tournament. I can do this here or there. Um, but I don't have to be all out. I can
Yeah.
come in, I can talk about it, I can do these camp stuff,
Yeah.
I can coach. I just won't be in a sports chair,
Mhm.
or I won't be hitting heavy
Yep.
stuff, um, stuff like that, man.
Knowing you though, that's gotta be extremely hard. I haven't really seen you play or get in a chair since, well, I suppose it was probably the Cincinnati Open last year, right?
Yeah.
And I had COVID, so, like, I could only come the very last day, and, yeah, that's, and then but anyway, knowing you to not jump in a chair, to not like I mean, you like to show people how to do it, right? Instead
Mhm.
of like, "Hey, this is follow through," or like try to guide them through. You're like, "Hey, I mean, you do all of that, but you definitely like to show lead by example kind of things.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see. Hopefully, knock on wood, we won't have any more run-ins. Let's say. But yeah, we can we keep teasing this, so we might as well just come out with it, and then I'll ask more about your back stuff and all that. So I'm embarrassed about this, guys. I This is not my proudest moment. Matthias and I are extremely competitive and we're playing sharks and minnows with all the other kids, and there was one of the kids who I knew Matthias could tag out. I was like, "Hey, just come up behind me and I'll protect you," or something like that. And Matthias was a shark and we were minnows, and I sacrificed myself, and then Matthias started to go after this person, and I clipped his back wheel, and it was one of those things where it's like I got to be able to stop him, and like that was the only thing that I don't know what I was thinking at the time, but like if you clip somebody's back wheel, that makes them turn, and it's potentially dangerous. And in this case, he was moving a lot faster, and he spun out, and then he just hit the ground with his wheelchair. And normally that would be okay because you fall 20 times a basketball practice, but that's not okay after your back is healing and you don't have any pain. Unfortunately, you laid there for a while and I was just like, "Ah." I felt so bad. Like, we're smiling about it now and whatever, but it's like, I don't know, as soon as it happened and I saw you fall over, I'm like, "Oh, no, I wanna rewind the last 30 seconds." So anyway, you have anything?
You know, that was probably the best crack in my back I had in a minute.
Yeah, so we're not gonna do that this weekend. That is bad.
I'm just not gonna play Sharks and Minnows.
With me. Don't play Sharks and Minnows with me.
I'm
We'll
gonna
be
sit
on
on the other side.
we'll be on opposite sides of the court. Yeah. Yeah, let's not be so aggressive with the kids game like that again.
Let the kids have fun.
Yeah, let the kids have fun. Um, yeah, so okay, let's go back to your childhood. And so my father, he doesn't drink at all. And one of the reasons why he doesn't drink is my grandpa was an alcoholic. And he was kind of mean. So I don't know that alcoholism necessarily was the cause, but and before the podcast, you said that we can talk about this a little bit. Talk to me about like your family dynamic when you were a kid, and I assume this was like pre-divorce, or your parents divorcing and all that.
So my parents were my mom had us during the week and one weekend, and my dad would have us the next weekend. And so for those weekends I was with him,
Wait,
we,
let me step back real quick. How old were you when your parents divorced?
I want to say I was 4.
Oh, okay, so you were very young.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought it was a little bit later, but okay, keep going.
So I would spend time with my mom, do all of my normal stuff, pretty normal life with
Mhm.
4 other siblings,
Mhm.
uh, 2 sisters, 2 brothers, and I was the middle child.
Mhm.
Uh, and so with my dad, he lived with his parents. Nothing against that. Stuff happens.
Mhm.
Um, but we would go to our grandparents, and my brothers would share a room with me. My sisters had their own room.
Mhm.
Um, but it was a very crowded home,
Mhm.
just because it was very small.
Mhm.
Uh, so with having 8 people in a home, for the most part, it was bad.
Mhm.
Um, People would get on each other's nerves.
Mhm.
You couldn't really go outside because we were all pretty little. They wanted to
Mhm.
keep an eye on us.
Mhm.
And I wasn't able to use my wheelchair in the house
Mm.
because it was too tiny. And
Mm.
so I'd be on the ground and I had to watch out for people stepping on me
Mm.
or kicking me. And so when I'm on the ground, I don't like any legs near me. That's
Mm.
just a thing for me because of that.
Yeah.
Because they wouldn't look down, they wouldn't think twice.
Mhm.
So I would jump out of the way, or sometimes I would get kicked.
Mm.
And so I would just go under the table, and then when I see an opening, I would take it.
Mhm. Mm.
Uh, and so stuff like that happened. My dad was a fast driver. My siblings didn't like it.
Mm.
Uh, I didn't really care. I
Yeah.
would just be in the back
Yeah.
reading a book.
Yeah.
Uh, but you know,
Were either of your parents like either addicted to drugs or alcohol or anything like that? No.
nope, nope.
Okay.
And so they
Yeah.
were very religious.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool. I didn't think so. But so you would, like, people wouldn't see you and you'd get kicked and
You
like,
know, it was every once in a while.
yeah.
They just don't look down. They don't
Yeah.
think about it.
Yeah.
Most of the time, I would get out of their way. I would dodge, and
Yeah.
so it
Yeah.
kind of became custom that I would just get out of the way.
Right,
Or
right.
sometimes I wasn't looking, and I just get kicked.
Yeah.
It sounds bad, It is kinda bad,
Yeah, yeah.
but
Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, like, my parents or my whole family, I would sit in the middle of the kitchen, and they'd be like, "Zach, you're in a bad spot." So it's like, "Alright," like, I never got kicked, but it's understandable. It's like, "Well, maybe I should be over here more," so
yeah,
something like that, but
put me in my corner.
yeah.
Just tell me that.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, how like, when you were younger, like, weight and all that, like, since you don't have any legs, like, do you eat the same amount of calories as somebody else, or
Um, so I would actually eat more
oh,
than my
because
siblings.
you played a lot of sports?
I played a lot of
Yeah.
sports, and so I was burning a lot more. Um, and right now I weigh, let's say 135,
Mhm.
close to that range. And people are like, you don't look over 90. And I was like, pick me up.
Hmm.
Find out. And they picked me up. They're like, ooh, you're a lot heavier than we thought. I was like, yeah. It used to be all muscle, and now
Yeah, yeah. You don't play sports, so yeah.
I do work out, but it's
Okay.
not the same.
Yeah, right, right.
So,
Yeah, there's one thing about, like, working hard to achieve something versus just going to the gym, and I mean, I guess you're achieving something, but at the same time, there's not a ball that's involved that you're competing against others and all that. So, um, what is a funny moment from your childhood or school?
so this was actually middle school.
Yeah.
Um, the music teacher interrupted gym class for me, and he came over and he's like, Matthias, we, meaning him and a lot of the other teachers, had a great idea. And they brought out
Oh
this
no.
big box, and they're like, do you want to scare your principal? And so they had it all written out, looked like it was for him, and I would go into it, and it was just be in his office. And there's a window where they're all watching, and they had like blinds put
Yeah,
in so they could pull it and they could see him.
yeah,
And so he comes in, doesn't think about it. I hear him talking to people in the office, and I'm just in here. I'm like, what am I supposed to do? Like,
yeah.
they didn't tell me. They just told me to get in the box. And so he's over here cutting it open, and as soon as I start to see some light, I just go, surprise!
Yeah.
And he fell to the floor and just like, what are you doing? That's when all the teachers just start laughing. He's like,
That's
oh.
hysterical.
And I'm in 7th grade, and I'm
Yeah.
thinking, this is the best. Nobody's going to believe this.
Yeah,
And so the
right.
music teacher, he was actually recording it. And so the next day, in music class, he gets all the music class together, band
Mhm.
and choir, and he's like, I have a video I want to show you kids. And so he was showing it to everyone.
That's
And I was
awesome.
like, oh, snap.
Okay, that tops, that's a pretty good one. I definitely have a few stories like that, but I won't get into any of my stories. What about let's get into a little bit of a disability conversation. When did you first realize you were different, and how did that shape you?
I think it when I was in 1st grade. 1st grade
Mhm.
was a big one. That's when, because kindergarten, we're all pretty small. We're all just on the ground pretty much most of the time. We're in tiny chairs, so I didn't think anything of it.
Yeah.
Preschool, you really don't care.
Mm.
But 1st grade, that's when you start to get some self awareness. You want to find your group, posse, if you want to call it.
Yeah.
And we go out to playground
Uh-huh.
for recess.
Mm.
People didn't know what I'd be able to do.
Mm.
So I kind of had my spot.
Yeah.
And so I would reach out to people. I was like, let's play tag. And they're like, "Oh, okay." And when I hopped out of the chair, and they're like, "Whoa, what are you doing?" And I was like, we're about to play tag.
Yeah.
And I'm it. And so I'm chasing these kids around.
Yeah.
And And they were screaming. They're like, "He's so fast!"
So just for the audience, how like why would you get out of your chair and to play tag?
The wheelchair slows you down,
Yeah.
and it makes it so these kids are able to climb the playground.
Co-
That's what it's for,
yeah.
and the wheelchair is not accessible to that.
Uh-huh.
We have a wheelchair swing.
Yeah.
It looks junky as heck.
Uh-huh.
Um, but I get out of my wheelchair because it's more accessible to me to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And I didn't have prosthetics at the time, and so that was the next best thing.
Yeah.
Get on my hands and chase these kids.
Yeah.
And
So you basically swung your torso. You were on the ground, like swinging your torso, and you put your bum on the floor, and then just
yep,
did one of those things.
think of a monkey just scooting
Yeah.
on. Yep,
Think of a monkey scooting. What you go ahead and finish?
just scooting on the ground with their knuckles.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Um. That is interesting. Let me ask you this then. What did sports give you that nothing else did?
A family.
Ooh.
Because obviously you have your family. I have my adoptive family,
Mm-hmm.
but they don't look like me. I can't
Mhm.
really share experience with them that I feel. Adaptive sports, that gave me a family that I can connect to
Yeah.
on a way deeper level,
Yep.
mentally, physically, socially.
Mhm.
Um, and I've known these guys and girls for years.
Yeah.
One of my closest friends I've known for over 10 years,
Mhm.
and they're my longest friend.
Mhm.
Another one is from South or North Carolina. She's like on the border or something.
Mhm.
I've known her uh, forever, and we just never lost contact. And we're always like, we get whenever we're traveling, we need to see each other just
Mm.
to hang out, just to catch up.
Yeah.
So it's you become a family, even if you don't talk. You go to a tournament, it's like you never left.
Yeah. I do want to say as well for anybody that doesn't know is Matthias. He was kind of a heartthrob. He might still be. I don't know. What's that?
Can you not tell?
But no, like just ladies definitely gravitated towards you and wanted to connect with you and talk with you and be around you and all that. So
I'm completely oblivious.
yeah, you can definitely tell from just from afar what is actually happening. So
And I'm coming from a friendly standpoint.
yeah, yeah.
I'm not even seeing it. And then Zach's like, we were at a tournament. And he's like, she like likes you. I was like, what?
Yeah.
She gave me her number, but that's just because I'm gonna help coach her.
Yeah, right. We actually had a girl, I'm not gonna mention her name, but we did have a girl who stopped coming to tennis after you stopped coming as well. So anyway, I did want to throw that out because it's funny and I think you guys will be able to tell with Matthias's personality. He's a very easygoing person and pretty awesome person to hang out with. So okay, so the family aspect of sports is one of those things that like I totally agree with you. And then the other thing with like with tournaments, one very big difference with able-bodied tournaments and like wheelchair tournaments is there's only one tournament in Cincinnati that's wheelchair tennis. One in Ohio. There's three in the Midwest, and so you have to travel a lot.
Mm.
And so as you're traveling, you're waiting between games, you're talking with people, you're going out to dinner with them, you're doing a whole bunch of other things. So, yeah, it is pretty cool because it does become kind of like family and kind of like what we were talking about before is the whole accountability piece and stuff like that. The like, the other disabled people just won't put up with your BS, and you won't put up with theirs now. So it's kind of a cool thing to get you closer with people, I guess. So, um, let me ask you, if you could relive any moment from childhood, what would it be?
Trying on my new prosthetics for the first time.
Really? Okay, I did not expect you to say that. Why?
It was a brand new feeling. I've always been at like people's chest height or below most of the time. And to be able to just actually physically stand up from a sitting position and be at the same eye level as my mom,
Oh,
that was a moment for me. And then being able to take my first step, and I'm like, wow, I don't know what Armstrong felt like.
yeah. Interesting. But you don't really wear your prosthetics much anymore, right?
I don't, but I'm getting new ones made just so I can use them more at my job.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So
Yeah.
we're in the process of that, but that was an experience for me
Yeah.
in my childhood,
Yeah.
and so be able to just go to school with them,
Right.
and kids are like, "Whoa!"
Uh-huh.
and they were seeing me at a whole different height,
Yeah.
literally, and I was like, "What about it?" And
Yeah.
they're like, "Can we kick you now?" I was like, "It's gonna hurt you, but go for it."
Yeah. They wanted to kick your legs.
Yeah, they were like, "I wonder if it'll hurt." And one kid took one big swing and just hit, and I was like, "You feel that metal?" He was like, "Yeah, yeah."
I was wearing leg braces probably up until end of high school, beginning of college. I wore leg braces, and this girl asked me, because I'm paralyzed from just below the knees, for those that don't know, but this girl asked me, um, can are my legs real, or are they fake? And so I was like, why don't you touch my ankle and find out? And she goes, no, I don't want to hurt you. And I was like, listen, either I can't feel them because I'm paralyzed, or I can't feel them because they're fake. And she goes, oh, okay, that makes sense. And so then she touched my ankle, and I went, "How? Ah!" and and she just freaked out. She goes, "No, I told you I was gonna hurt you." I was like, "No, no, no, I'm just kidding. It's but yeah, so that's funny. I Here's an interesting question that I didn't expect to ask you during this during this podcast. Let's fast forward to you getting married. And you have your first dance with your wife. Is it going to be in a wheelchair, or is it going to be with
Wheelchair,
prosthetics?
wheelchair.
Wheelchair. Why?
That's what's that's my body basically. My
It's what?
It's part of my body.
Yeah,
That's what
your
I'm used
wheelchair.
to, and
Yeah, right.
I'm not gonna be in my prosthetics most of the time, so
Yeah,
she's gonna be able to see me in my wheelchair,
yeah,
and so she's gonna be used to that, and I'm gonna
yeah,
be used to that,
for
and
sure.
that's
What
she
about at the altar? Wheelchair?
Yep.
Okay. Is there any moment where you'd want to stand in a wedding?
Wedding standpoint, I can't say so,
Okay.
and so
Yeah.
I think the only thing, and this is a possibility, is
Mhm.
proposing, just so I could say I got down on one knee.
Oh.
So,
Oh, yeah. Because if it's almost, well, I mean, I guess you get out the ring, but it's almost hard to tell that you're proposing
mm,
instead of, I mean, because what, you just get out of your wheelchair and sit on the ground, and it's like,
exactly. It's like, oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah,
But if I was in my prosthetics, that would actually take some effort to be get
yeah,
down, and that's
right,
the same thing
right,
for an able body.
yeah,
It's down
yeah,
effort,
yeah.
and you have to look up.
Interesting. Yeah, so there's a stigma about being in a wheelchair, right? And I think you're just pushed to stand up. Um, and like here's a great example is up until fifth grade. I had I walked around on crutches, and I had to have people carry my lunch tray and stuff like that, and, I couldn't keep up with my friends because I was always getting tired. I couldn't go long distances because I was always getting tired. Um, I had a surgery in 5th grade that put me in a surgery that put me in a wheelchair for 2 weeks, and I realized I could carry my own lunch tray. I realized that I could keep up with my friends, or if I couldn't keep up with my friends, one of my friends was having a blast pushing me to keep up with everybody.
Exactly.
And so from then on out, I chose to use a wheelchair, and I'm so much more independent in a wheelchair than I ever would have been, um on crutches. And it's crazy how I don't know. Talk to me about that stigma.
I
Like,
think it's a social norm that you wanna look normal, you wanna
mhm,
look like everybody else,
yeah,
and so, for me, it was the same thing. I wanted to be able to walk, I wanted to be like my peers,
yeah.
and then I was too tired, I couldn't keep up. I found out how to keep up, and that's how I kept breaking my legs,
Oh no.
because I was just pushing them too hard just because I wanted to keep up with them, and then I realized I was like, "My wheelchair can do all of this and
Yeah.
more,
Uh-huh.
and I can be myself. I don't
Yeah.
have to be wearing a full body cast, basically, that's what it was,
Right.
and it was like, my wheelchair, I can do anything I want in it,
Right.
and I know that inside and out.
Yeah.
And for the norm to be able to stand at the altar or in the wedding,
Mhm.
I think that comes from people who were injured
Yeah.
and who want to be able to stand and want to do that. But if you look at people who have been like this for years, or if they were born like this, they
Mhm.
typically don't go for that.
Yeah.
And so they stay in a wheelchair. If
Yeah.
they have prosthetics, they go into they stay in the wheelchair.
Yeah.
If they have the ability to be able to stand, their partner loves them for them
Yeah.
and they see them in the wheelchair, and so that's going to be the norm for them.
Right.
And so that's the social norm,
Yeah.
is to want to be able to stand.
Mhm.
But people have been doing this for years and all their life. They don't have to go with that social norm. They know
Mm.
who they are.
Yeah. Yeah, I 100% agree with you with all of that. There is a social norm, and it's like, okay, what what part would I want to stand in my future wedding, right? And it's like, okay, well, maybe when she's walking down the aisle,
Hmm.
like me, and then I get in my wheelchair.
Out of the respect.
Yeah, out of
Yeah.
the respect, it's like, okay, and I think because she wouldn't see me normally standing up, she'd be like, "Whoa, wow, that's I have a lot of respect for him because he's standing the entire time I'm walking down the aisle and stuff like that." So maybe that's a time. I also I think I'd want to build up my leg strength to be able to like do a dance with her standing up because
Hmm.
there's a lot more closeness when you do that. Um, like she can sit on my lap, but like honestly, like the only way that you can get close to somebody is
Yeah.
I won't even bring it up. They can't. Yeah. That's the only way to get close to somebody, and that's not appropriate for a wedding.
Exactly.
So it's like, okay, well, I might maybe do a first dance or a dance standing up.
Hmm.
Um, yeah. So I don't know. That's interesting. Uh, what do you? I mean, you, now that you're an adult, you've definitely had your share of seeing kids who come in standing and then who normally stand a lot and then maybe don't anymore or they still do. Um, talk to me about that in general.
I have one person in mind, uh, because she's a kid. I won't say her name, but she plays wheelchair basketball,
Mhm.
and she has a prosthetic, just one, um, and she uses it all the time. And I was like, if you want to be able to do wheelchair basketball and get the feel for a wheelchair, you're gonna have to be in a wheelchair a lot more.
Yeah.
She's like, "But I do it at home." I was like, "You have to do it in everyday life.
Right.
That's what you have to do."
Yeah.
But she just won't break the habit of using a prosthetic because she wants to be like everyone else.
Right.
She wants to fit the norm. And I was
Yeah.
like, "That's okay."
Yeah.
But if she wants to do this professionally, and I was like, "To do this professionally, you have to be all in."
Mm.
And to be all in, every professional athlete for wheelchair basketball is in a everyday wheelchair.
Mm.
If you look at that, if you see someone who stands most of the time, they are a good athlete. They might be on the national team,
Mhm.
but they're not going to be as good as someone who's in an everyday wheelchair.
Mm.
And I respect her decision. She
Mhm.
is growing
Yeah.
uh, in her prosthetic, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But I push every time I see her. I was like, "You need just bring your basketball chair everywhere you go.
Yeah.
Just do that." She's like, "It's too big," and I was like,
Mm.
"Take it to where you can.
Yeah.
That's where you need to do it,
Mhm.
just to get the feel."
Mm.
And so that's the one person I have like on my mind
Yeah.
when that question's brought up.
Right. Yeah, that's interesting. And this is one of the the cool things that I'm learning about just having conversations with other disabled people on my podcast is just the disagreements. I don't know that I fully agree with that approach necessarily. I think it's circumstantial, right? And maybe I'm missing context or something like that, but like I think you can make it as a Paralympic athlete and not use a chair all the time. Do I think it helps? Yeah. Do I see there's definitely a learning curve from a mobility standpoint when you see somebody who's walking around all the time get into a wheelchair and they don't understand a lot of the basic stuff, the basic movements, right? So that just means that that person has to work a lot harder with their mobility on the court. I think so. Um, yeah. So does it hinder you? And then the other thought that I have with that is like, okay, maybe the person does want to get good at basketball, but that's not everything, right? Maybe being eye to eye with with her friends is maybe more important to her than getting really good at wheelchair basketball, for example. Or, I mean, getting better chair skills, let's say.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I definitely think one way to let somebody do kind of what they want as well could be, hey, maybe you should do this for an hour a day in your driveway,
Mhm.
like dribble a ball and try to do some tricks with the ball and stuff like that. Even
Yeah,
you can do it with the tennis racket as well, right? So
exactly.
anyway, that's interesting. Do you have anything else to say around that, or
I think you are right. I focus a lot more on mobility wise,
yeah,
just because that's what I've always done.
yeah,
And so if you were to look me on basketball court or tennis court, I have some of the best wheelchair skills,
yeah,
just pushing wise and mobility wise
yeah,
than most people you'll see on the courts,
yeah,
just because I put so much effort into it.
yeah,
And so it has been recognized
yeah.
because of that. But yeah.
Yeah. I so not to knock you down a peg, but I think you have good mobility skills, but you're super fast. And so I think let you can have worse mobility skills as a result of you making a mistake in your mobility and recovering from it because you're so fast.
Right.
So I don't know. I mean, don't get me wrong. Yes, you have great mobility, but sometimes fast people, and I did this when I was your age. Uh, I did this too. It's like, well, I don't really have to move my chair right now because I'm so fast that I'm not gonna need to move it, right? Like stuff like that. So anyway, um, I want to go back to for a quick second. We're gonna have more disability talk, but I want to go back to the time in your life that you you had your back injury, you quit playing sports. Um, I really wanna like, what advice would you give somebody who's going through something like that? Like, sports was everything to you, to be
It
clear.
really was, yeah.
Like, sports was so important. You had so many aspirations about what you wanted to do with tennis and stuff like that, and then all of a sudden, your back started hurting, and it was like, you have a high pain tolerance, but this was putting you like, g t to
For
talk
about
about
2 months, I was on bed rest. I
yeah,
couldn't go to school. I got homework online because now you can do that.
yeah.
Um, but that's what I had to do for 2 months. I was just
Was that a your old joke to me? Because now you can do
yeah.
that? Like, "Hey, Zach, I know you're older than me, but, did you know that you could do things online?"
Yeah.
I like it. Okay, keep going.
But for 2 months, that's what I had to do, and it sucked.
Yeah,
I'll admit I was very depressed in that
yeah.
state for those 2 months. It was probably the lowest I've ever been, and I've been
Mm,
pretty low.
mhm.
Um, but I had my mom. She
Yeah,
was a big help.
yeah.
She helped just trying to get me out, trying to get me to do normal stuff again. Um, but the biggest thing was my friends that played wheelchair sports. Sure, I kind of hated them in the moment for bringing stuff up, um, but I was also able to help them during tournaments, and so
Oh.
this was during the height of the tournaments.
Mm,
Um, and so they would call me or FaceTime me in the tournament, and they're like, "So I just got done with my match,"
yeah,
and so I would just coach them through it.
yeah,
And there was a girl from University of Alabama. She used to play for the team. She had a falling out with the team,
yeah.
and so she was going to different coaches. But I was kind of her stickler coach. She would
Uh-huh.
call me. I would just give it to her straight,
Uh,
and she really respected me for that
yeah.
because if she was doing something she shouldn't have been doing, I was gonna say it.
Mm,
And everyone was like, "You're being too mean." I was like, "She can take it how she wants." And she's like, "This is what I need." Everyone
mhm.
coddles me too much,
Yeah.
and so this is. And I did that for her. I did it for other people. I did it for
Great.
Sean,
Mm,
one of our players.
mhm,
And so he would call me after a game that he won or lost. And I was like, all right, walk me through the steps. What did you do good? What did you not do good?
mm,
How can you fix it? How can you work on it?
mhm,
And I wrote out a whole checklist. I gave him a book for mental coaching that
mhm,
I was given from USTA.
mhm.
Um, and I don't know if he still uses it,
Yeah.
but I was able to do stuff like that for them.
Mm,
Um,
that's awesome.
and they were there for me. I was there for them,
Mhm.
and so that family connects again.
So
Yeah.
so it sounds like, one of the themes that we talk about often on this podcast is purpose.
Hmm.
So it sounds like um you lost your purpose, and then it took helping your quote unquote family to rekindle that purpose,
Yeah.
and kind of shift your focus. I mean, you'd always been someone who helps and stuff like that, but like you kind of latched onto that a little bit more.
Yep.
Okay.
So I was more of an athlete then,
Yeah.
and then when I had my injury, I went into more of a coaching standpoint,
Yeah.
and so that pushed me away from sports.
Yeah.
And I still do that stuff for them,
Yeah.
but I also have my career.
Do you mind sharing? You said the 2 months of you being in the bed was one of the lowest points of your life. Do you mind sharing what was going on in your mind during that time?
Um,
If you
it
don't
was
feel
like
comfortable, that's
it was
fine.
like you said. It was what do I even have to give? Because this is
Mm,
all I had for me.
yeah.
Um, this is what I wanted, and
Yeah.
now it's all stripped away.
Yeah.
Um, I worked so hard for this,
Uh-huh.
and it's gone just
Yeah.
in a flick of the finger.
Right.
Um, and that's where I really didn't know what I was gonna do. I didn't. Sports was everything for me, and
Right.
so for it to be just taken away that fast, and everybody knew it,
Right.
and so everyone was like, "Oh, it's gonna be okay." And I was like, "How?
Yeah.
How is it gonna be okay when
Right.
this was everything for me?"
Those are empty words when
It really was,
yeah.
and so that's when people started reaching out, and they're like, "Hey, I know you know what I should be doing. Tell me what I should be
Mm,
doing." And so I got to be able to put my knowledge of what I know from coaching and what I've seen from coaching and stuff like that. And I put it towards them and I put it in a way they'd be able to do and understand.
yeah.
And they were able to comprehend and do it. And so I
Mhm.
kept doing it and they started winning matches. And it's like, okay, maybe this is what I can do.
Yeah.
And so that started pulling me out of my funk. Um, and that's when my 2 months, I was like, all right, I got to get out.
Yeah.
I'm just going to deal with the pain. I took a bunch of painkillers,
Yep.
finally got out. My mom was like,
Mm.
are you all right? I was like, took a bunch of pain meds. Let's do something.
Wow. Okay. So, would you? One of the things I think able-bodied people think a lot is there's a level of wallowing in self-pity from just being disabled.
Hmm.
Um, for me, I don't think I had that, but or yeah, I mean, I don't think there was like really big moments of that. It was more if there's any wallowing, it was about other things, maybe not about my disability. And it sounds like in this instance, this is one of those things that there was a little wallowing in self-pity for
Well,
those
I
2
wouldn't,
months.
it wasn't about my disability. It was an
No.
injury.
Right.
And so I don't classify it as part of my
No,
disability.
I agree. Yeah.
But I do know people who wallow in their disability
Yeah.
because they're like paralyzed. They can't do what they want to do.
Yeah.
They're very limited on what they can do.
Yeah.
I'm like, focus on what you can.
Right.
And I give it to them. I tell them, I was like, you're fueling the stereotype
Yeah.
of the disabled.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, and they're like, you know what? We're going to change that right
Yeah.
now. And I
Yeah.
was like, there we go. Now
Yeah.
let's go do something.
Yeah, so that's great. So using your own thoughts there, um, focus on what you can control. Um, those 2 months that you went through where you were kinda redefining yourself, um, were you focused on what you can't what you can control?
At the end of it.
Yeah,
And so when I started going out of it, but for the most part, I was focused on what I can't control.
right. So easy to do that
It's
too.
so easy,
Yeah,
especially when you can't do anything.
right,
And so you just think and think. It's overthinking
right.
at that point.
Well, and also just all the pain that you were in. Like you
Mhm.
imagine I I don't know, imagine just a knife being in your back and it's like every time you move around that knife
Well, it's
hurts.
multiple
Yeah.
all down your spine. And I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, I thought initially it was in the lower part of your
it
back.
was. And
And
so
then it's
when it released, it
yeah.
spread.
Uh
And so it is spread out, but
yeah.
it's within all my back now.
Yeah.
And so it's a lot more manageable. Uh, I still feel it
Okay.
uh, 60% of the time throughout the day,
Oh, okay.
but I'm not on pain meds.
You're
I can,
not. Good.
and so I'm able to process and do it. If it gets too much, that's when I have to say something. And I'm like, I need a break.
Yeah.
And it could be like a 15-minute break.
Right. Right.
But after that, I can get going again.
Okay. So it's no longer on your lower back, it's throughout your whole back now. And what what happened like what did you said you went through some treatment. Was that the catalyst that helped you at least be functional in life or
It helped for a time being, and then it was supposed to make it so I didn't feel it.
Yeah.
So I'd be able to get back into it and slowly come back
Mhm.
with the pain.
Yeah.
But it didn't do that. And so I just had to figure out a way to be able to relax my body
Mm.
and still function.
Mm.
And so I got harder and harder or more physical on my back
Yeah.
until I was able to do stuff. And now I work
Right.
12 hours a day,
Jeez.
sometimes picking up 60-pound objects at my work
Mhm.
and throwing them in a machine that's about my shoulder height.
Wow.
Uh, and I could do that throughout the day
Yeah.
and I'd be fine.
Yeah. Wow. That's that's great. And no back like no added back pain from doing something like that?
Nope.
Okay. That's great. Wow. Yeah. So just so everybody knows, like we used to see each other quite frequently because of tennis and stuff like that. And not now that you're not playing anymore, and you're working 12 hours a day, like I barely get any. We barely see each other essentially. So, I'm kind of getting an update from you live as well. So, yeah, this is that's great that you've got it under control and you're able to work a 12-hour shift at your job and yeah, that's pretty great. Um let's see. So so you were talking about coaching. And that's one of the things that help you. Um I I've definitely seen your talent in coaching as well. Again, people gravitate towards you no matter what, even on or off the court. Like people gravitate towards you, and there's a lot of people that look up to you. Um, why don't you coach now?
I haven't found the best time to.
Yeah,
Um, Summer is the best time to coach,
yeah,
but that's also my busiest season for work.
yeah,
And so that's when we're slammed. We just finished a job
yeah.
uh, that required us to do 12-hour shifts,
Right.
6 days of the week. Um, it sucked, but now we're finished with that. We're trying to get back into it. That
Mm,
made us behind in schedule. So
yeah,
we're basically playing catch up along with more orders coming in.
yeah,
So that's what we're trying to do.
yeah,
And depending on what our company chooses to put in,
yeah.
it could be another project like that,
Sure.
which just takes days to
Hmm.
be able to do.
Yeah, I think it was Alex Hormozy or somebody like that, that said something like, when it comes to life, you it's oh man, I wish I had this on that I could pull up instantly, but it's something along the lines of like, um, you have to choose the route that you want to take in life, and that means saying no to a lot of things,
Yeah.
even things that you might enjoy or might be good at. You have to pick that path and go with it. And I think that's really important. So, yeah, I that's awesome. And the other thing is you're in your 20s, and so like grinding and being trying to be as successful as possible is the best time um to do that. So I think pursuing a job is great. Do you see yourself coaching as a career at all, or like volunteering or
Volunteering,
something like
yes.
that?
As a
Yeah,
career, I can't see that.
yeah,
Uh, I can do it,
yeah,
uh, but if I have to see it over and over, I'll just miss the sport too much.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I did that for a tournament for
yeah,
pickleball,
yeah.
and that alone made me really, really mad.
Uh,
I was like, I can't do this.
yeah,
I can't get in a wheelchair. I can't enjoy this.
yeah,
I can coach, but I'm just going to be mad, and
yeah.
that's not good for the players.
Right, right.
So
Interesting. So is there a path that you think you'll be able to play at all anymore
I
without?
think recreationally.
Okay.
And so, like this Cincinnati tournament,
Yeah.
I can do that.
Yeah.
I can go into practicing
Right.
for a couple weeks, go into the tournament,
Right.
and slowly fill out. But I would still keep in contact.
Right.
Um, but I have to see how my back's doing.
Yeah.
I plan
Right.
to be at the tournament
Good.
playing. We'll see.
Yeah.
Uh, that all depends on my back.
Sure. Yeah. Well, hopefully we can make it work. We'd love to see you there. So, yeah, good. I'm glad glad things are looking up and up for you. Um, okay, let me look through the questions on my phone. Uh, okay, what made you feel most included growing up?
During tournaments, the hotels,
Hmm.
because that's when everybody was out of their jersey. Everyone was just a
True.
normal person.
Yeah.
And that's when you can just relax, hang out, talk to people,
Yeah.
do your own thing.
Mm.
And I was a part of a big group, the
Mhm.
very known people. And
Yeah.
so we would just relax, have fun, watch TV in the just room,
Yeah.
pull out card games,
Mhm.
arm wrestle,
Mhm.
take pillows and just hit each other.
Yeah.
But stuff like that, it really is just a bonding experience, and
Yeah.
that's what it is. How
Yeah.
people
I
can.
I I totally agree. Uh yeah, there was a story I was about to tell, but I don't want to tell that story. So, okay, so here's one of the funny stories. We were we were in Poland, and I said, this is for the World Team Cup, and this is in the 18 and under division. Um, we I said that I would shave my head if we got to the finals. And so we made it to the finals. I'm 90% sure we were playing the Dutch. Maybe we weren't because they were all like pretty intoxicated. And so anyway, somebody, one of the Dutch girls came over and was like, started to cut my hair with with clippers, with actual scissors, and she grabs my hair and starts to cut it, and she goes, "I drunk." And I was like, "Oh, I don't know that I want you having scissors so close to my face, with you being drunk." But anyway, we ended up shaving my head, and it was great because we were super close to the Dutch. We were super close to, um, I mean, I think the Dutch we were the closest to, but like I was friends with like some people from from Germany, some people from Australia. So, but yeah, it was just a cool bonding experience, you know. So I agree. I think that definitely makes you feel included. Okay, so before we get more into disabled talk, a few more fun questions. Um, what music was your soundtrack growing up?
Pop.
Pop. Okay. So what song specific? Can you give just one?
Something just like this.
Something just like this. Oh man. Okay. Yeah, that's a great song. Can you sing it for it? No, I'm kidding.
Nah, I'm not doing that.
Come on, man. Hit that number one charts. No. Okay, so how about this? If you were a character in a movie, who would play you?
I was a character in a movie. Who
Yeah.
would play me?
Yep.
Um, Zion Clark.
Zion Clark. I don't even know who that is. Zion. I'm googling this person. Zion Clark. Okay. Oh, okay. He's a double amp as well. Is he an actor?
Oh,
He's a professional wrestler.
yep.
Okay.
I don't know actors by their names.
Okay, no worries.
That's the only name I had. And I was like, double amp right
Uh,
there.
Seth Rogen would be mine. A lot of people say that I look like him.
Yeah.
A little bit. Uh, so yeah, like like we have a lot of similar and then like all right. Okay, so let me get back to my notes real quick. Anyway, okay, so let's do adaptive sports. We kind of talked about everything adaptive sports. Um, what's something that sports taught you that still applies today?
Fierceness.
What?
Fierceness.
Fierceness. Ooh, I like that. Can you elaborate?
So in sports, you have to be fierce to be able to win. You have
Yeah.
to be fierce to be able to do anything. And that's the same in life.
Mm-hmm.
If you're just over here shrinking up, you're going to get walked all over.
Mm-hmm.
But if you show how fierce you can be, people will be able to see that and actually respect you. That's what it is. And so going into that, I didn't tell my when I first started my job, I didn't tell my job that I was in a wheelchair. I didn't think it was necessary for them to know.
Oh.
And this was a machining place. And so all these guys, you would think you need both arms, both full legs. And so I go in and they're like, "What
Was
are
this
you
a
here
phone
for?"
interview?
No, in person.
Did you oh, you okay, so you didn't get the I was
I
wondering
got
if it was around COVID and
no,
it
no.
was a
I
little
got
bit
a
after.
phone interview,
Yeah.
and I got through that, and so they did an in-person interview.
Mm.
And in the phone interview, I didn't tell them I was in a wheelchair. And
Yeah.
so I show up, and they're like, "Are you Mirko?" And I was like, "Yep." And they're like, "You have the certification, so you knew how to do something."
That's
And I
awesome.
was like, "Let me see the shop." And so one of the old guys in machining area in second ops, he was like, he came up to me, he was like, "I know you can do this. I worked with someone at GE who had no arms and could do this." And I was like,
Whoa.
"Yeah."
Okay, that's
So
cool.
he actually works with people that
Wow.
have disabilities. Like, you have no legs. That don't stop nothing.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, I'm sold. And so I
Yeah.
just had to get through the process, and it was a 2-day process, and I was hired.
Oh,
So
wow. Okay, cool. Um,
we were actually driving to Michigan when I got that call.
yeah, yeah, we
Yeah.
were. I do remember the job offer, so it was pretty cool to celebrate that. Okay, let's see. Have you found a new outlet for your competitive drive?
I don't know about outlet for competitive. Um, I want to say I do it with my coworkers.
Mhm.
Um, when machining, you want to get to as close as 0 as possible.
Mhm.
Uh, so that's kind of my competitives right now. Competitiveness. And so what it is if you can imagine this, our tolerance is 0.030.
Mm.
We can go over and under that, which is a really high tolerance. It's really
Mhm.
bad. You don't want that. You want to be at least 0.001. That's
Mm.
what you want. And so what we're trying to do is we're trying to get underneath to be plus or minus 1. And so if we can get exactly 0, we have bragging rights for like a week. And so
Mm.
we're all putting in our machine, trying to get it perfectly calibrated. And these machines, you're never going to get it perfect. So if you get it perfect, you did it exactly perfect.
Right.
And so our welders don't like that because it's too high tolerance for them. And so, but that's a whole nother thing.
Okay.
But that's sort of where my competitiveness went. And so
Yeah.
I compete with 2 other guys. And so we're always telling like, oh, we have plus or minus 5 right now.
Uh,
2. So
Nice.
that's where I get my thing.
Okay. All
And
right. I like that. Yeah. I think it's pretty easy to find competition everywhere that you go. I mean, if nothing else, you can compete with yourself and
right, and
just
they're
be
like
better.
my age,
Yeah.
and so one's 20, me,
Uh-huh.
22 and 21. No,
Mm,
23.
mm.
That's what it is.
Okay.
And so we're all around the same age, and
Yeah.
so one of them went to my school, the other one lives out in the middle of nowhere in Ohio.
Yeah.
Uh, but we all come into one place, and every day we try to do a little better
Cool.
and better each other.
Yeah.
So it's whole thing.
Yeah. That's awesome. Okay, so let's talk about we kind of talked about who you are now. Oh, what keeps you rolling forward?
Probably my family.
Oh, okay. Expand on that.
So we've had a couple uh, family members pass away over the years that
Mm,
were dear
yeah.
to us, and that brought us closer.
Mm,
Some things happened as well that separated some of us from each other,
mhm,
and so the people who stuck close to us, we got really close with them, and so I don't want to disappoint them,
mhm,
and so I work hard, I provide
mm,
and protect as much as
mm,
possibly can, and that's what I want to do. Uh,
mm.
that's my goal in life, is
Yeah.
to be a provider, a protector.
Yeah.
It's and that's for my family, my friends,
Yeah.
uh, family I consider out of related.
Yeah.
Um, anyone like that, I pride myself on protecting and
Yeah.
providing.
Yeah. That's one of the reasons why I picked up MMA
Hmm.
is because I wanted to do that. I think it's Jordan Peterson who says, "Be a monster, but contain it."
Hmm.
And what that means is like a monster is like it's a fearless beast that can destroy things. But if you can contain the monster from within and use it wisely, then uh, you're not just a docile, inanimate object. You're a contender, and hopefully people won't cross that, and if they do, like you know the proper steps to take to de-escalate or stuff like that. So yeah, I think that's awesome. Um, what 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 helps you through hard days? We kind of talked about this already, but let's talk about that in general.
I want to say music. Music really helps. That's a
Yeah.
therapy for me.
Mm.
Um, going back to 2017 songs, that's a crutch.
Okay. If I were to hit play on your Spotify list right now, what would it what would start playing?
Probably, uh, if you just hit randomize, it'd probably be "Take Me Back to Eden."
Okay. Okay.
Uh, real ones know what that is.
Yeah. I I I I'm so bad with songs and artists that like I'm sure if I heard it I'd know, but I can't put a jingle to it, let's say.
It's a very long. It's like 5 minute song.
Oh wow. Have we listened to it in the car? Probably. No,
Nope.
you don't think we have? Okay. Wow. Well, I guess we'll have to play this on our way up. Um what about what keeps you grounded when things feel uncertain? Family?
Family and memories.
Mm.
Memories remind me of why I keep going,
Mm.
why I should keep going. Is you had such a successful life.
Yeah.
What more can you do? You
Right.
can do more.
Right.
It's not the you've already done everything you can.
Right.
It's there's more.
Yeah.
look past this next door.
Yeah.
So you've closed all these other doors, but you have another set of
Yeah.
doors.
One of the cool things that I heard was you have no idea what your upside potential is. And
Mhm.
it's like, wow, that's kind of cool. Like if you just keep going and going and going, like you'll get somewhere, and you have no idea what that potential is. So yeah, that's awesome. Um, we talked about that one. What advice would you give your 17-year-old self? So it's interesting. ChatGPT helped me generate these questions, and it it says, "What advice would you give your 17-year-old self?" And it's like, why would ChatGPT put the 17 in there? And maybe it's like, okay, this is your last year of childhood.
Mhm.
You're maybe graduating high school, yada yada yada. I don't know, but first of all, do you have any thoughts on the 17 and why a GPT might create that? And then the answer to the question itself.
I feel like it's asking. It's like, because if you go back in school, you write yourself a note on the
Mm,
first day of sixth grade, and they save that till the last day of eighth grade,
yeah,
and you write a note to your future self,
yeah,
and you might write a note for your, you can't really do it to your past self,
yeah,
but you get to read that. And so freshman year, you write a note saying what you are and what you're doing and what you think's going to happen. And senior year, you would look at it and you're like, huh, wow.
yeah.
And then you can look back and you're like, okay, well, this
Uh-huh.
is gonna happen.
Yeah,
That's why I think it's going based off that,
yeah.
just because it's a very used technical term.
Mhm,
Is ask your 17-year old self, ask
mhm,
your 6-year old self, ask
mm,
stuff like that. And what I would tell my 17-year old self is don't focus so hard in sports.
mm,
That's not going to be your whole life.
mm,
That's it's going to be a part of your life,
mm,
but you might have a career in it.
mm,
You could, but you also have to look forward past sports. And
mm.
that's what a lot of athletes now, they just focus on sports. They go to school, they do
Yeah,
that, and they don't really think beyond that. And
yeah,
some of them do. Some of them, I respect it. They do look past it, but a lot
yeah.
of them just focus. They don't care what happens next. They just are in the moment. But I recommend highly to look past that. What are you
Mhm,
going to do after this? If
mm,
you have an injury, what are you going to do? If something doesn't go right, if
mm.
you get kicked, if you fall out, what are you going to be able to do?
Yeah,
A backup plan is always a necessity.
yeah,
So that's why you have a backup bank account. You
yeah.
have saving. That's what it's
Mhm,
for, to fall
mhm.
back on. Where are you going to be able to back up? And so that's what I would tell my 17-year old self.
Yeah, interesting. So I'm a bit older than you. Um, so I think I had a similar goal as you, is to be a Paralympian at that point in tennis. Actually, I think it was probably tennis and basketball. Like I wanted to do what Steve Walsh did. Um, one of the things that I found out though was all the travel I got bored with. And I graduated high school in 2003. So, take that for what it is. I know you don't know what it was like to be alive in 2003, but um we didn't have smartphones. We had candy bar phones. There was no internet that was like that you could use
Accessible.
anytime anywhere, that
Yeah.
was all accessible. There wasn't there was I mean, you could you could listen to music and stuff like that, but it was like a CD. And we there was, I think, burn music at that point too, and you could burn a CD. Do you even know what burning a CD
Yes.
is? Okay,
Yes.
I think a lot of people probably wouldn't. But you could burn a CD and create your own track. It was limited and all that, but I one of the things that I found was I got bored being at tournaments and there wasn't always someone to talk to or whatever else, and so I'd get bored, and I think that was one of my detractors for why I stopped competing, right? Um, so that's all to say the advice I'd give my 17-year-old self is something along the lines of like, hey, start to listen to things on audio books, audio anything. Um, and there wasn't as much audio then as there is now, but as soon as I got into podcasts and stuff like that, like my life instantly like just got better. I've always like grown up. I always struggled with reading. I was always a slow reader. Like I learned speed reading, but I was never really effective at like comprehending what I was reading and all that.
Right.
And so I never liked to read. I got frustrated. And the other thing is I ADD a little bit. And so I'll be reading the words and then my mind will go somewhere as I'm reading these words and then I'll have to like find my spot again and reread everything and stuff like that. So I've never been a big reader as far as books go. I have read my fair share of books, but listening to things and gaining knowledge that way is so much more preferable
Yeah.
for me. So um, that's what I would tell my 17-year-old self. Um, let's get into disability. So we're at an hour and 55. You good to keep going for a little bit longer? How's your back?
How much longer?
Um, well, I do want to get into a disability segment, so maybe like 20-30 minutes.
Okay.
Is that good?
Yeah, we can do that.
How's your back? Is it
My
hurting right now?
back's fine.
Oh, your
I'm
back's
just
fine.
tired.
Okay, okay. All right. It's 9 p.m. So okay, so let's go to disability. So I want to jump to interactions with strangers and stuff like that. So um when you meet someone new who's an able-bodied, do you feel like you have to explain yourself?
It depends. If I'm attracted to them, there's a possibility I might.
Mm,
But if I'm not, I don't feel the need to be able to explain myself.
okay.
Take me how you think, and if you want to go deeper into that, then I'll explain anything you ask.
Yeah.
But if it's someone I'm attracted to, I might explain a couple things, uh, just to have that little edge
Yeah.
to be able to be like, "Here's me."
Mm.
Uh,
Do you you crack a lot of jokes and like just with disability and stuff like that. Do you crack those because they're funny and because it helps like lighten the mood a little bit or like get the tension out or anything like that?
a round table body,
Yeah.
I don't really think about it.
Okay.
I just say it because I'm like, it's gonna be funny.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then I'm like, I already said it, and they're looking at me weird. And I'm like, oh, they made it awkward.
Uh-huh.
I just laugh at it. We
Yeah.
all know you wanted to.
Yeah, right, right. Yeah, that is funny when you get around new people that they're like, I don't. That's not a funny joke, and then like your friends are just like
Yeah.
dying laughing at the joke. It's like, yeah, it is a funny joke. Just lighten up.
They look like jerks, and they're trying to look nice. And I'm
Yeah,
like, these ones actually are
yeah,
funny.
yeah, yeah. That is one of the things to go back to like the family and stuff like that is I think a great example of that is if you fall out of your wheelchair, if you're like going to the like on the sidewalk and you hit a lip or something like that and you fly out of your wheelchair, 99 times out of 100 it's not painful at all and it's funny and everybody else are like all your friends will start
Yeah.
laughing at you and what's that?
The people around are just hands on deck,
Yes.
like hands out, just and like you said, your friends are just gonna be over here just
Yeah.
laughing at you, pointing,
Right, right.
and it's like, looking at him 30.
Yeah.
And that's what me and my buddies do at the mall.
Yeah.
We go out of our way to do that. And so
That's
they start shouting, "I told you we shouldn't have brought him." Smack me upside the head,
yeah.
pick my chair up, take the wheels off, and they just scream at me, "You're in timeout now," and walk away.
That's great.
That's at like Kenwood Mall.
Yeah. Oh man, that's hysterical. Yeah, and when you do fall out and there's like random strangers around, it's so funny to see the reactions. It's like, I always make the joke of like, hey, I just fell out of my wheelchair. What more can happen? What more can happen to me? I'm already paralyzed. Everybody like kind of thinks you're an egg, and you could easily break now that you're disabled. It's like no, like it's fine.
You gotta play the "I can walk
I
again."
do, I do. I love playing that one. That's one of my favorites. Um they'll help, like if I do fall and they'll help me up. I haven't done this in a while, but I'll ask them to help me up, and I'll just like I'll stand up and I'll just go, oh my gosh, thank you, and then they'll look around like, wait, what just happened?
Well, my thing is I have full function of my femur.
Yeah.
So if they're talking to me really like babyish, I'll just start waving with that. And they're like, and just
Oh no.
and I was like, "What are you looking at?" And they're like,
What are you looking at? My eyes are up here.
"Don't worry about the missing leg and moving femur. It just does that sometimes."
Oh man, that's hysterical. Um, what other jokes have you played on, played with your disability?
I've used my prosthetics. I've used my chair. So on Halloween, I can get creative.
Yeah.
I have multiple old prosthetics, and so we used to have this big 12-seater van,
Mm.
GMC, and we had a house with a garage or driveway that goes down. And I asked my mom, I was like, "Can we please put the prosthetics under the car and put fake blood all over it and just have it running into the street?" And new people who don't live on our street come onto our street all the time. And so we made it look so realistic. We had the cops called on us.
Oh my gosh, that is hysterical.
And so another time is it was basketball practice, and this was in the very early stages of the Dragons. And I used my prosthetic, and everyone knew my prosthetics because of my shoes.
Mhm.
And so what we did was we put the prosthetics right next to the door where the feet were just outside. And so everyone was like, "Why is he over by the door?" And we just had a pillow, a pumpkin, and a string. And the shirt was on a pumpkin, and we just pull it, and the head just rolls. They're like, "What?"
Oh, that's hysterical. Have you ever like fake had legs as a Halloween costume?
Fake head legs.
Yeah, like put like those like fake stuffed legs or
Yeah.
something.
I didn't do that for Halloween. I would just go into Walgreens or Kroger. And you know those videos on Instagram where there's a guy with no legs running around saying, "Help
Yeah.
me, help me." We would do that.
Oh, oh, that's great. Yeah, I've definitely had my share of fun doing stuff like that too. Okay, so let me ask you this. I have this theory that there is an elephant in the room with every able-bodied person, and if there's not, I just assume that there is. And so one of the things that of course, I love humor in general, but I also use humor to get people to be more comfortable with me and get that elephant out of the room as fast as humanly possible. So
Right.
um, You kind of touched on this earlier, but with new able-bodied people, do you feel an elephant in the room?
Oh, yeah. Well, they just don't know what to say. They don't know
Yeah.
what's right to say. They don't know what politically
Right.
correct to say.
Right.
Um, and that's where I make jokes just to lighten the mood
Mm.
for them,
Mhm.
get them comfortable with it. And if I see a smirk, I know I did my job.
Exactly.
And so when I see that, I'm like, all right, they're comfortable.
Yeah.
They might not show it, they might not actually know it,
Yeah.
but they're comfortable enough to be able to show some sort of
Yes.
like, oh, that was kind of
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, and, I I think the other thing that I do, and I know you don't mind talking about your disability either, but well, I actually let me say this real quick. I can imagine somebody seeing me versus somebody seeing you, it being even more awkward seeing you because I have legs, you
Mhm.
do not, and so
Well, they just think like, oh, his life had to be so much harder.
Right. Well, yeah, they think that, but also like, I mean, just human brain is designed to pick up patterns,
Mhm.
and the wheelchair is one pattern that they pick up that's different than most people, right?
Right.
And then the next human pattern, the next pattern is you don't have legs, so that's obviously the next thing that is noticeable.
Right.
I don't know this for a fact, but I would imagine people look at me and stop at the wheelchair, and they maybe look at you and see the wheelchair, and then they see you missing legs, and then
Well,
they think a little bit further than that.
from that standpoint, think about kids.
Yeah.
That's exactly what they said. They're like, "Look, he's in a wheelchair. Look, he really doesn't have
Oh,
legs."
yeah, that's interesting.
Have you ever had kids be like, "Oh, look,
Of
he's in a
course.
wheelchair."
Of course.
Do they
Yeah.
say anything else?
No, not typically. Yeah. Um, gosh, there's so many different directions that I wanna go with this. Um, speaking of parents doing that, what is your philosophy on what a parent should do in that moment when their kid screams, "Mommy, look at that," or whatever, you know?
You know, I understand. You don't want to be looked at like the bad parent raising a rude kid, pointing out to someone who doesn't look normal in the crowd. I get it, but it's also explain to him
Yeah.
or explain to the kid why that person is. You can't just rip him away and then he's going to be thinking about it, tell all his friends. He's going to be like, I saw a man, no legs,
Yeah.
and he had muscles.
Yeah.
I don't understand it. And uh, every once in a while, I'll see a kid. I was like, "You want to spin my wheel?" And they're like, "Really?" And so
Oh,
I'll
that's a
just hop
good
on the
one.
one side. I was like, "Spin it." And the parents are like, "He's gonna break it." I was like, "There's,
0 chance. Yeah.
yeah." And they're like, and so they'll spin it. He's like, "That's so cool. How do you
Mm.
turn?" I was like, "Watch," and I just do the little turn. He's like,
Yeah.
"That's so cool."
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
then they'll go away, and I'm like, so that helped show him that
Yeah.
it's not wrong to ask
Yes.
or point it out.
Yeah.
And if I see a random kid in a wheelchair with their
Mhm.
parents, I go up to him instantly and I'm like,
Yeah.
"All right, so what do you got this kid doing?
Yeah,
I
do you
see
play
you're
wheelchair sports? Wait, let's go tomorrow.
yeah,
Give me
and
your number. Let's exchange information.
yeah, and most of the kids now they're connected to the bridge, and
Yeah,
I'm like, that's
that's
what it's
awesome.
about."
That is awesome.
And
Yeah.
so,
Um, yeah, so that's interesting. One of the approaches I take when a kid does that in the mall is I will instantly interact with that kid, no matter if the parent shushes them
mhm.
or not. I'll instantly interact with the kid. I want to reward that behavior. I think it's perfectly. I call it curiosity,
Yeah.
and I think it's perfectly okay for a kid to be curious about something that's different, and it's not rude. It's I don't know too many people who would think it's rude. Do you?
Nope.
Yeah.
Because we all know people who have done it and then we've explained it to them.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah, one of the things that I do, I love the wheel spinning thing. I can't believe I haven't thought of that. But one of the things that I do is I'll just ask the kid if the kid wants to touch it, touch the spokes and all that. So, um, and then maybe I'll say, "Hey, you want to race?" Or back in my better walking days, I would say, I waddle like a penguin, and they're like, "You do?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I waddle like a penguin." They're like, "Let me see." And I'll be like, "All right, but you can't laugh." And they'll be like, and just put both their hands on their mouth so that they won't laugh. I'm like, "No, I'm just kidding. You can laugh. It is kind of funny, me walking like a penguin." So,
yeah, I'll do the race thing,
yeah.
but if they start winning, I jump out of the wheelchair mid race, and they're like,
It's like, yeah, that's great. It's like the girl in the ring just crawling.
yeah,
It's
and
like,
the parents are freaking out because my chair's going
yeah.
on one way.
Oh man, that's good. Yeah, I love that. Okay, so let's go back to the elephant in the room.
Mhm.
So with the elephant in the room, um, do you think it's imaginary from time to time with certain able-bodied people? Like you're just making it up in your head, or do you think there's always an elephant in the room?
It's definitely sometimes imaginary
Yeah.
because you don't know what their experience is.
Right.
And so that's what it was with one of my coworkers.
Mm.
And so he was perfectly normal with me, but I thought that I had to prove something to him.
Yes.
He's like, my grandpa had no legs. Like,
Yeah.
I know
Right.
about all this stuff. I'm
Right.
like, well, dang, you should have said something.
Yeah. That's interesting that you say you feel like you have to prove something. So, another talk that I like to get into with sometimes with able-bodied people, but specifically with disabled people is the open door. Um,
Yeah.
I think for some reason I'm fascinated by this because I think it's one of um the quickest ways you can explain an interaction and get into the mindset of an able-bodied person. So I guess you kind of rolled your eyes when when you heard me say open door and stuff like that. Just get into that a little bit. Talk about the open door and what that is. And
So I had a bad experience. It was at a church. It was a mega church here
yeah.
in Cincinnati. It was one lady. Every week, I tried to explain to her. I was like, if you saw, I'm driving my own vehicle. I drove my family here. I got my wheelchair out. You
Mm,
see me doing all this, and you think I still need to open a door. And I was polite about it.
mm,
But after a couple weeks, I was like, I purposely go to a different door
yeah.
just to prove that I can do it with one finger.
Yeah.
And she's like, I could have done that for you. I was like, watch this.
Mm,
Like, I can fully do this. This is not new to me.
yeah.
I'm able to do this. There's no reason. I understand you're trying to be nice. You're a welcome greeter. I get it. But there's also a level of respect and
Yeah.
dignity for me to be able to open my the own door,
Yeah.
especially after I've been doing this for weeks and you know who I am.
Yeah.
So you're not forgetting, you're just doing it.
Right.
And I don't think it was out of spite.
Yeah.
It was just her trying to be nice.
Yeah.
But for me to keep saying, I'm like, this is, I don't need this. That this is not something I need. You can do it for someone else who's in a
Yeah.
wheelchair. But for me, it's a pride aspect for me
Right.
to be able to open my own door.
Did she do it for other people?
Yes.
She did open the door for other people.
Yes.
Okay.
Uh, for most of the time.
Yeah.
There were some people she didn't catch.
Mm,
They would open it and then she would grab the door.
got it.
But she would try to direct me to the handicap door, press
Mm,
the button. And I'm
mm.
like, I really don't like those things. So I went to a different door and then she followed me over there
Oh.
and opened it. And I'm like,
Oh my
lady,
gosh. Yeah.
I'm trying to make this as obvious as possible.
Yeah.
And so I just went to a different side of the building and did it, and
Mm,
I had no problems. They're like,
mm,
"Oh, okay." But these were also younger people who are
yeah.
more understanding.
Right.
And so, but
Yeah.
door openings, that's a big thing for me.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but that's a pride thing for me. If someone opens
Uh,
it for me, I'm like, that makes me feel a certain way.
the reason why I ask if she opens the door for everyone, and you said yes, that makes it a little less
Right.
um like if she was going out of her way, then yeah, that like I can understand it. But if she's just doing it um because she does it to everybody else, then it's not that big of a deal to me. But going the extra step of like her opening the handicap accessible door, it's like, listen, I can hit a button to open up a door
Yeah.
if I really wanted to. Like, you didn't have to hit that for me. But then going to other doors to help you out, it's like, and you also told her, and so it's like, for someone to not get that in their head, and still think that they're doing something nice for you is just like,
It's frustrating, you
oh
know?
yeah, it's super frustrating. I 100% agree. Um, okay, so I'll explain my view after I ask this, but so what, for someone that is going above and beyond or going out of their way to open the door for you, how does that make you feel? And what do you view, like, how does your image of that person change maybe?
I do respect it, but and this is just from my perspective. I see someone who is built with muscle and all upper body and pushing themselves.
Mhm.
I'm like, all right, he's good.
Yep.
I don't have to help him.
Yeah.
But again, like you've said, they see a wheelchair instantly. They have the, the need or the necessity
Mhm.
to help them or help that wheelchair user.
Mhm.
And for me, I can understand how they're trying to help, but when
Mhm.
you express it and they still want to help, they're like, "Oh no, it's okay, it's fine." I'm like,
It's like, no, it's not okay.
"Yeah, it's like I just told you, like
Yeah.
I don't need your help." So, but that's my point. At first, I do respect it. I'm like, "All right, they're just trying to lend a helping hand. They're going out of their way to try to help."
Yeah.
And then once it's voiced and they still try to help, I'm like, all right, now you're just trying to seem like you're helping when you're
Yeah.
not actually helping, and you
Right.
know that.
Right. Yeah.
So
Um, what about, oh man, I lost the question. So the way I see it is there's two ways of looking at it. Is one, they can, like, you can view it as them being patronizing because they think that you're less than. And in some circumstances, you're called disabled. We're called disabled. So disabled is less than, basically, in
mhm.
some ways. So but it's also way to look at it is they're trying to help, right?
Yeah,
And they're being a good person by trying to help, right? And it's interesting to have those two different points of views, I guess. So do you have those, or?
yeah. And so I do go along with that. And
Mhm.
so it is either they're patronizing or they're just trying to be a good Samaritan.
Yeah.
Um,
Or
but
both.
once you exactly, um,
Unconsciously patronizing.
yes, and that's when you voice something to them,
Mm.
and once they understand what it is, then they have that choice whether or not to be one or the other. They could be that good Samaritan, still offer to help with the door, but if you say you're okay, then they can just be like, "Oh, okay,
Yeah.
go ahead."
Yeah.
Um, or they can just be like, "No, I insist."
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like,
Okay.
Go for it. I'm gonna
Yeah.
run your foot over too, but
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Excuse me. Sorry, sorry, sorry. Um, I got something in my lungs. Yeah, so have you what do you what about opening the doors for other people?
I'll ask. And if they don't care,
No, you opening the door for an able-bodied person. You'll ask?
I was like, "You want me to help?" Or it's just I open the door and they have to rush to
Yeah.
get the door.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
I'm like, "Oh,
I I think that's so funny. The reactions when an able-bodied person when you open a door for an able-bodied person and they're just like so awkward about it. It's like, bro, like just go through the door. Um,
they're like, oh, okay, okay." And then they'll be in the way trying to hold the door out
yeah,
in such an awkward position. We're like, "Go.
yeah,
We know how to do this."
yeah, right. Or they'll like reach over your head or
Yeah.
like they'll try to stand like in front of the door to hold it open, but they don't know that their toes are in the way and stuff like that. You know, it's interesting because we were talking before about being uncomfortable and not knowing what to do around a person in a wheelchair and stuff like that. And um like I don't want somebody to give it like opening the door for someone that much thought. I think to keep it simply, the rule of thumb is if they say no, I'm okay, leave it go. Let it go, right? And that's that. Like if they're opening the door for you, you already know that they can't open the door. So just go through the door. Don't make it awkward by making a big deal about them holding the door open and stuff like that. Would you agree with that
Yes.
sentiment? Um Yeah, I just don't think a lot of people are gonna hear that, and so it's like, okay, like, some people just don't know, and that's okay, you
And
know?
that's called ignorance.
Yeah,
And so they just don't know.
yeah. So let me ask you this from an ignorance standpoint. Do you think it's on the able-bodied person, or do you think it's on the disabled person?
To let that person know.
Mhm.
It's on the disabled person.
I agree.
And so, because if the person's already ignorant, they're not going to know.
Yes.
Uh, that means it's for the disabled person to stand up
Yeah.
and let that to let that person know. Be like, "Hey, this is this is how you should do it."
Yeah.
And then the other person would know in the future, and maybe they might forget.
Yeah.
But if it's reminded, and they're like, "Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's right."
Yeah.
And
For opening doors specifically, I think oftentimes it's too quick of an interaction to actually do any sort of education.
right,
I think my specific education is, "No, I got the door for you, go ahead." And then they think about this guy in a wheelchair for the rest of their day, or
yeah.
maybe a little bit, just right after, like, "Oh, this guy in a wheelchair held the door, that was awkward," and
Well, my
it
thing
didn't have to be.
is parents of disabled kids.
Oh, go ahead.
They influence that. They'll hold the door for the kid, and people will be
Mhm.
like, "Oh," but now they just infuse the stereotype of holding the door for them. And
Yes.
so at tournament, I actually like tell the parents, I was like, let them get the door. And they're like, they can't.
Mhm.
I was like, they're gonna figure it out
Yeah.
or they're not gonna go in the building.
Right.
And so they figure it out and their parents like, wow, I didn't know they could do that. I was like,
Yeah. 'Cause you haven't
crazy.
pushed them. Right,
Yeah.
right.
And so now their kids are like, I open the door.
Yeah,
And now
right.
they wanna do it all the time. They wanna
Yeah.
push it open. And I was like, "Your chair's a little long. How are you gonna do it?" And they're like, "I'm gonna find out."
I love that.
And so they'll go up sideways, start hold on and backing up. And I was like, "See, there you go. You
Uh-huh.
found out."
Yeah.
It takes a little time, takes a little
Mhm.
effort,
Yeah,
but you get it. And
right.
the parents realize that. And so now they don't have to hover over them as much.
Mhm.
That kid has a little more space to be independent,
Yep.
and the parent has more space to be able to watch their kid grow
Yeah.
as an independent wheelchair user.
Yeah, I agree. Um, what's your favorite comeback to an ignorant comment?
You want to try it out?
Is that what you say?
If it's very like I've explained it and they still don't understand, I'll get frustrated. I'm like, I'll hop out of the chair and I was like, "You please try.
Mm,
Like, I know how to do it. Can you figure it out?"
mm,
But if it's just the one person, like one time they don't understand, I'm being nice. It's like I try to explain it in a nice tone,
yeah,
but I'm also like, you need to be able to understand this
yeah,
because we see each other.
yeah.
And if we don't see each other this way, you can understand it for the next disabled person you see. And I'm not nice about it just so they'll remember it. Because if
Mhm,
you're nice about it, it kind of goes
mm,
wishy wash.
mm.
But if you have a little bit of a tone, it kind of sticks with them.
That's true, but that's not.
It's not the best way to do it,
Yeah,
but it makes them think. They're like, "Oh, should I?"
yeah,
And if that person is struggling, they're still gonna help.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's interesting. I think I approach it maybe. I mean, you of course approach it calmly, but I don't know that I've ever had an ignorant comment that I've like had a comeback to per se. You know, like um one of my favorite things, and this isn't an insulting question or comment. It's when someone says, "What happened?" I'll say, "Nothing. What happened to you?" Or I'll answer what happened, and then I'll ask them what happened to you, assuming that, and they're like, "Wait, what do you mean? Nothing happened to me." I was
Well,
like,
if it's kids, I'll play along.
"Yeah, yeah,
I'll be like, "I ate my greens.
yeah, yeah,
I swimming too close to a shark." They're like,
yeah."
and I was like, "Yep." Yeah.
Making up stories have been has been hysterical. Yeah,
And you just watch the parents' faces like, "So sorry."
yeah, yeah, yeah.
You're like, "Nah, I'm just
You
kidding."
got you got taken out by a shark. That's a good one.
Well, the greens, I overheard this kid at the park not wanting to eat his greens, and I kind of just I kind of went over. I was like, "You better eat your greens, man. You're gonna be like me." And he just started. And his mom just looked over and said, "Thank you."
Yeah, that's hysterical.
So he will never forget that.
um, okay. I think we can wrap up. One last question that I have is, who do you want to be in the next 5 to 10 years?
5 to 10. I want to be successful in my career.
Mm,
And on the path that I am now, I will be
yeah,
if I
good.
keep with it. But I want to be a family man. Like
Mm,
that's a big goal of mine.
heck yeah.
It's- yeah. And so
How many kids do you want?
probably two.
Two. Okay. Okay.
um preferably a boy and girl, but
Mm, okay.
can't really choose that one.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um but that's a big thing for me is
Okay.
family. And so 5 to 10, I would expect myself
Cool.
to be along that path
All
or
right.
close to that.
Cool. I like it. Matthias, any closing thoughts or comments or anything like that?
You know, whenever you see a disabled person out in the wild, don't treat them like a zebra in the
Yeah.
forest.
Yeah.
Just go up, have a normal conversation, treat them like a human being,
Yeah.
not just some wild animal.
Yeah.
Uh, and yeah, you can be nice, but don't be coddling nice.
I love that.
So that's the biggest thing.
Don't coddle.
Yep.
That's
Don't bubble wrap your
huge.
kids.
Yes. Yeah. Don't bubble wrap your kids. Yeah. Let them. My mom always had a quote, and we'll finish with this. Is, um, it was, you can break a bone and it'll heal, but if you break a spirit, it'll paralyze them for a lifetime. And I love that quote. I'm so thankful for my parents, and pushing me and letting me do the things that might break a bone or two every so often. So, um, uh,
Yeah,
okay. Well, I just want to say thank you for coming on the show.
of course.
It has been absolutely awesome to catch up with you and see you again. It's 2 hours and 30 minutes of awesome, and I really hope someone watching this can kind of look at your life, reflect, and say, I can do that too, and maybe it'll give them some motivation, or maybe they learn something from you, or what have you. Do you have anything that you want to like point them to, or anything like that? Like any socials, or you don't have to. I'm just
My socials,
yeah.
Instagram, you can look me up as Matthias Krodel. Uh, it'll have my face as an image. There's a little blue check next to my name.
Mm,
Uh, that would be the biggest one. If I figure out my Facebook thing, it'll be the same thing.
mm,
I have a public one and I have a private one.
cool.
Preferably the public one.
Yeah.
Uh,
That's same for me too. Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. Again, thanks for coming on. It's been awesome. I can't wait for this weekend and us doing that 5.5 hour, 6 hour car ride together again. Side note, real quick, we calculated once how much time we've spent in the car together. It's something like 50 or 60 hours or something like that. Traveling all these tournaments and all that.
make
So
it 56 or 66.
yeah, exactly. All right, cool. Well, guys, thanks for joining us today on the Rolling Forward podcast. If you like what you heard, hit that like button, subscribe, and drop a comment. I want to hear what keeps you rolling forward, or my next t-shirt idea, or perhaps something you heard today stuck with you. I want to hear it in the comments. I'm here for it all. And if you want to hear more, if you want to see more shirts like the one I'm wearing, mostly disabled oriented, you can find my designs over at rollingforward.printful.me. And if you've got a story worth sharing and fits the theme of what we're doing here, I'd love to hear from you. Please reach out. You could be my next guest. Until next time, everyone, keep rolling forward. Thanks.